Hello there, friends, and welcome back to Strangers in the Night. Strangers in the Night for some of us, late afternoon for some of us, early morning for some of us, but this is your late night VR gaming source. I am your host, Wes. With me, as always, is my good friend, Eric, and joining us for maybe the first time ever. Alex, have we ever had you on here before?
I really don't think so, dude. Like we've done podcasts together, multiple different
Yeah,
podcasts
like
together,
Wait a
but
loads.
minute. Wait a minute. You guys know each other?
we've been acquainted. Yeah, I think this is my first time ever appearing on Virtual Strangers. It's cool to be here, man. Thank you.
Well, it's good to have you. That's weird to me. It seems like you should have been here by now. Not that we have a ton of like people on. Like I could count them all on my fingers, and not use my thumbs. But good to have you here. Glad to have. Is it okay if I call you New Roots? I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking,
What
everyone.
if he a
It's
beard?
not New Roots. um, Actually, I just
Uh,
talked to Roots today, Eric, and he's in good spirits. So
I
he
caught
seems
some of
like
that
he's
Yeah, I caught some of that conversation, man. It was actually good to hear, and he does sound like he's doing good. Yeah.
sounds like he's in a good mind space. So yeah, shout out to Roots. We love you, bro. We miss you. We can't wait till you get back. Um, but while we're doing shout outs and while we're here, first of all, it feels good to be back in podcast format. We've had so much going on. I was out of town last week. This week we came back, and on Saturday we did go live with the annual Here They Lie live stream. And I thought last year was awesome, and last year was awesome. And that's kind of the cool thing, is that this year's stream was a completely different stream to last year. Last year was all focused on like analysis of the game and the meaning and all of these different metaphors and symbolism they have going on in it. This year, uh, not only did we have Corey, the creator, join us, we had a bunch of the developers join us. And this year was more focused on like the actual like fun facts about the development, and kind of letting us behind the scenes and kind of how they come up with some ideas and some of the things before Sony picked it up. Lots of cool like things that I never knew about the creation of the game. And they stayed with us start to finish. We started off actually with an on-camera interview with Corey Davis, the founder of Eyes Out Studio, and we probably talked way more about Eyes Out during that than we talked about Here They Lie. But I do want to just shout out one more time everyone who showed up to do commentary, and those that showed up in the chat. Of course, Corey Davis, Stephen Ratter, Christopher Brown, Ricardo Toban, Ike Makako, um, and Larry Vargas, and you too, Victoria. I don't know your last name because you're not in my email thread, but you were just planning on being a bystander, I think. But when we started talking about the impact of AI on the industry in the last chapter, you chimed in quite a bit on that, and I found that to be very enjoyable and a conversation that I'd like to pick back up again on another episode.
Sounds
Anyway,
very cool. And do you know who loves Mike Macaco?
she does. She loves Mike Macaco. She loves your macaco and his macaco, everyone's macaco. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't even hit the button.
No,
My
what the hell, man?
mom!
Man, Roots says he might come back, and all of a sudden you're not hitting the button anymore.
Well, yeah, I know. Oh, I'm getting rusty, dude. What I do, like two weeks of shows, and then I took like 2 weeks off, and now here we're back. And guys, I mean, the VR didn't stop for us while we were away, did it? Like, what about this fucking lineup of games, Alex? I know it's hyperbole at this point, and so many people have said it, but it really does seem like we might be coming into a new golden age. Like, we had a period there in like 2018, 2019, where we got a nice wave of VR games like Asgard's Wrath and Half-Life Alyx and Stormland. There was a ton of good games that came out during that. Of course, VR's launch in 2016, tons of good games that year and in 2017. But we've been in a little bit of a lull in terms of quality since pretty much since Meta walked away from PCVR. But it seems like it's coming back. It's rebounding hard now, and I, for one, could not be more excited.
Yeah, dude. It's a super exciting time. And I mean, I think like that golden era that you're talking about where like we saw this like kind of bump in really high quality VR experiences was amazing, but was largely led, I think, by like PC VR stuff. Stormland was PC VR only, Asgard's Wrath was PC VR, Alex was PC VR. And since then, Quest has dominated the VR space. It has clearly become the primary platform for the grand majority of VR users out there, and we've seen a lot of people buy headsets since then, and almost all of them bought Quests. And
Yep.
we went through the Quest 1 and the Quest 2, and we had some pretty good titles, definitely stuff worth playing and worth noting, but nothing that ever really got close to that like caliber of quality that we saw Alex and Stormland and Asgard's Wrath start to hit. But now we're all playing with Quest 3s, and
Yep.
developers have had enough time to start to leverage some of the power of this headset. And you play a game like Batman and you get in there and it kind of looks like a Half-Life Alex in a lot of ways. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not quite the same, but the lighting, the textures, like the environments, all of that stuff is starting to kind of get to that point, that threshold of quality that I think a lot of like normal gamers kind of expect when they jump into something. And yeah, here we are, 2024 or the end of 2024, and we're starting to get a handful of games that look absolutely fantastic on the Quest and that are a lot of fun to play. And I'm super stoked about it, man.
It's good for everyone. It's good for everyone. I mean, now that Quest 2 is discontinued, devs are going to start dropping it more and more as
Yep.
people upgrade to 3S and 3. But what that means for PC and what that means for PlayStation is that the baseline on multi-platform games has risen dramatically. And for those of you out there on Quest 2 that were wondering if they were just discontinuing it to try to force people to buy another product and you really won't tell much difference in the games, not the case. I can confirm that the upgrade is a meaningful upgrade, and we're just now starting to scratch the surface of what that means.
Unfortunately, we probably still got like a good 6 to 8 months, maybe more, before the people are going to be able to,
Yeah.
to developers are going to be able to get rid of it. Like, and it's a sore spot for a lot of people because there's a lot of people out there like, man, I just got a Quest 2. Like, I got a Quest 2 6 months ago, or 8 months ago, or less than a year ago, and now you're going to make it obsolete for some of the new games. But eventually we have to say goodbye to these things, especially when you have a jump in that when you go from one chip to another, it's a big enough jump, and VR moves so fast. VR moves way faster than consoles or PC move. So with the upgrades, so you have to eventually pull everybody forward. Because I'm telling you right now, like, I'm sitting in these meetings every day. Quest 2 is holding everything back. Like, literally, we have to think every day about how we get things on the Quest 2. And when we can release that and not have to worry about that, then it's not a, hey, let me do a patch later on to make it look better on Quest 3. Then it's like, no holds barred. Let's just develop for the Quest 3, Quest 3S, and then figure out where we go from there and figure out how we get the most out of this chip. Because we're not even close to that yet. Like, Batman is pushing the limits. I guarantee it's pushing the limits, but it's not at the limit. I mean, there's more that we can do with the XR2 Gen 2 chip. We
Yep.
just can't fully do it yet until we say
People are
goodbye to it.
just people are just starting to dip their toes in. I mean, Camouflage, they're obviously working with Oculus Studios, who's going to give them the cheat sheets, right, on how to really maximize what's there. But last time it took a year. Coming from Quest 1 to Quest 2, it took a year before people really started to move on from Quest 1, and there really weren't that many Quest 1s out there. This time we've got 20 million Quest 2s out there. So hopefully we start to see it move on a year from now, but it may even take a little bit longer. But, you know, by the time we get fully moved on, Quest 4 will start getting leaked, and
Hmm.
It's a blessing and a curse, right? Like everybody wants to get to that ultimate stage of VR, and we just took a big step in that direction. Um, but it seems like, by the time we get settled into one platform, the next one is coming right behind it. You know,
This is such a uniquely VR problem. Like when cutting edge gaming systems and PC graphics come out, people are just like usually just like impressed by it. And they're just like, wow, that looks so great. And that kind of becomes like the benchmark that virtual reality experiences have to match in order for people to like not turn their nose up at it sometimes. But it's just so interesting because to Eric's point, like VR is moving insanely fast. Like we've seen 3 headsets during the life cycle of like a single console, and that is just insane that these developers have to like try to like continue to put out games that are on the cutting edge and get it out during these development timelines that like allow them to actually take advantage of the chipset that they're developing for. And I think I don't know, maybe it's just because we're embodied in the experiences that like honestly, unless it's actual like indistinguishable from reality, there's like always a problem,
right?
versus like playing video games. It doesn't have to be indistinguishable from reality. Like it can just have good or better graphics. And we're like, cool, thanks for the better graphics. And we just keep playing video games.
That's
So
true. That's true, but um, I kind of feel like up until very recently, especially in standalone games, um, the step back that we took with graphics in the Quest era was pretty immersion breaking. Didn't mean that there weren't good games. It didn't mean that there weren't great games. But honestly, now with Quest 3, this is the first time that I really have felt like, okay, now graphics are not a problem at all now. Like if they can hit this level, like this is good enough to have a great experience. And the Batman game we're going to be talking about later is a perfect example of that because it's not, you could tell it's not a PC game or a PlayStation game by looking at it. You can tell that the poly counts are low in some areas, but the game itself is just such a great game, and the graphics really are beautiful. I mean, they might not be top tier PCVR level, but they're mid tier PCVR level, and that's good enough. Now, if you have a great game, then you're not going to get lost and have your immersion broken by the small differences that you find in the graphics. So it's a good
Yeah,
place to be. I think that's the moral of the story. We're in a good place right now.
yeah, and to the point, like Xbox Game Pass only bitches, is kind of saying like it's not a big jump. It's not a big enough jump between Quest 2 and Quest 3, and it definitely is a big jump. Trust me. When you're trying to develop for it, it's a big jump. When you change that chip, you go to a different lens system. It's a big jump. And here's the thing: we're seeing Batman now on the Quest 3, and we see how beautiful that is. But that is a unicorn. That is a unicorn that
Yeah,
had
yeah,
millions and millions and millions of dollars put behind it with a team of hundreds of people that just did that.
true
Okay,
that.
so that what you saw there is that you can't be like, "Oh, well, that's what we're gonna see normally now,"
What's the high
because
water
that's what
mark?
everybody can do. What's that?
It's the high water mark.
No, no, and we will, yeah, we'll see some. It's just that, you know, and but what I'm getting at here is like we see what it's capable of doing now, but that doesn't mean that we can do it easily.
Oh
And as
no.
we get farther, we will be able to do it easier as the developers start to learn how to optimize more for this chip. Because again, we're not even there yet. Like we're still they're still pushing the limits. Like they're still finding stuff all the time. Like, oh, if I do this with a shader, I can do that with a shader. I can save some power here, or I can do something over here to help save some power there. That happens every day, I'm telling you. So it's we're gonna get there, but again, you have to say goodbye to one to get to the other. So and it's very you it's very expensive to try and make two separate games. So it's not like you can just say, well, let me make a Quest 2 version and a Quest 3 version at the same time, and then we can do that because that's basically two separate teams you're talking about that have to do that. It's not like you can just make one over the other. You have if you're gonna make a Quest 2 version and a Quest 3 version be different to where the Quest 3 is an upgrade automatically, that's two separate branching teams in the middle of development, which is super hard. So that's why you see so many patches come out later on. They're like, okay, here's our Quest 3 upgrade because after the game is out, then they have some time. They can take their main team and then do an upgrade like that. So once we say goodbye to that, all those resources that were going to do that can actually go into the actual development time. Then you'll start to see things that are closer to Batman easier from smaller teams. That's kind of what I mean by like that saying goodbye to old hardware releases you and allows you to do other things that'll make things better for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel us dangerously teetering on the edge of doing our Batman review in the
Yeah.
intro. So I'm going to call a stop to it and say hello to our friends in chat. Old Darth is in the chat, as is Awesome Tatum. Shades of Gray Matter is here. Jason Westmouth. Uh, oh, Xbox Game Pass only. Bitch and sometimes PS4. LOL. Brandon VR's here. Shades. I already said hi to Shades. What's up, Shades? Brian Paul's here. What's up? Shout out to Brian Paul. This is how I knew that Batman was awesome. Is I tuned in to PSVR Without Parole Gamescast on Monday, and Brian Paul was talking about how awesome Batman is. I was like, okay, it's good, and yeah, turns out it's really good. So yeah, thanks for joining us, Brian. Mepper's here. Salvador is here as well. Hooked Worm, the Hoosier Game Cat, is here. David Mansour is here. Hussein X, what's up? Who else? Brondo's here. What up, Brondo? Game Cat Behemoth, of course, is here.
Hey Wes, Hookworm asked me about my my game cabinet.
Yeah.
And it's not done yet. It should be done by the end of the month. My arcade machine. I do have a small update I want to share. I just want to share what you because they did the artwork for me, and
yeah?
I'll show the artwork of what it's
Nice.
going to look like. Oh, is it like out of focus?
Looks like it's Marvel themed.
Yeah, it is. Get it in focus. It doesn't want to focus.
I can't tell.
But it's
so
super
tiny
Marvel
on my
themed.
screen.
Yeah,
It
sorry.
looks cool.
But yeah, it's going to be a 4-player deck. So it's showing you the deck. It's showing you the arcade, the marquee, the side. I went super Marvel, but I went heavy Captain America because I don't know if you know I'm a huge Captain America fan. So Marvel is all there. It's the cinematic Marvel, the movie cinematic Marvel, but definitely Captain America.
Nice.
End of the
Awesome.
month. Then we do
End of
Rock
the
Band.
month.
Then everybody comes and we do Rock Band on the
Rock
arcade
Band
cabinet.
from the arcade cabinet.
We can do Rock Band from the arcade cabinet, and it's going to have the guitars on it for Guitar Hero, and you'll be able to just play Guitar Hero.
You know who loves
I
it when
love
everybody
Guitar Hero.
comes?
My mom!
Hey.
Hey. Who else is here? AJ's here too. What's up, AJ? Didn't see you there. Chinatown D. What up, D? Looper's here. Andrew Ehrenreich is here as well. Q Creator. What's up? Good to see you, friend. VR Spry Guy's here. Happy birthday, Spry Guy. Chris Richardson. Guys, I've had the pleasure of playing co-op with Spry Guy a couple of times
Nice.
over the last couple of weeks. We've been going in and playing Into Black, which is awesome. And I'm kind of sad that you guys weren't here the last time when I was doing shows alone, because there's games now that I played then that you guys weren't here for. So lucky for us, here's the cool news. Next week, game of the month. So now we have an excuse to get back in and play those games that we covered before you guys got here, and games like Into Black, and there's quite a few other ones that I can't wait for you to get in and get your opinions on. But
I'm down.
shout out Spry Guy.
Me and you actually got a chance to play a little co-op this week, which we haven't done
Yes,
in a
we
while.
did. And we're going to talk about that shortly. Tatum's here. Tatum says, miss your roots. Yes, we do miss roots, and look forward to getting him back in his chair. Although we do love new roots.
Thanks.
JLW99's here. What's up? Xander Deha. Xander's talking about something that we're going to talk about in a minute. He says, yes, with the Vendetta shirt. You got a nice Vendetta shirt. We're going to talk
Yeah.
about that in just a moment, Xander. Thanks for joining us.
Oh yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Xander's from Meat Space Interactive. And yeah, it's good to have you here. Hang out. Your game we're covering first, and we'll be there in just a minute. Evan Yabu is here. What's up? Gabriel 004 is here. Scrolling. Four Wheeling's here as well. Mark is here. Which Mark? I don't think we've ever had just Mark. Is it Mark Pringlesley? I mean, we've got like 10 Marks. Which one are you?
We
Not
had Don.
Zuckerberg.
We had a Don.
Don's been on
Wow.
forever.
A different show.
Man, yeah, I don't know if you can carry inside jokes across podcast. Well, I guess you can.
God damn right we can.
My
This is
mom
the
has
audience.
gone across podcasts.
This is the same audience that every podcast I'm on has
Okay.
the same goddamn audience in it.
Yeah. it's
So,
true.
just so you know, Alex, this is your first day here. I want to make sure you know and understand that we have no rules here. Well, I mean, we kind of do. We don't talk about politics really, and we don't really delve too much into religion. But besides that, it's free game. We can make bad jokes. We can cross a line and make like terrible jokes that are going to offend people. We've done it many times. We've lost subscribers for it, but they're funny, so we say them. So feel free to make whatever jokes you want. We're all about the laughs here.
Yeah, please forget that you're an upload correspondent. And
I've already forgotten that.
Say fuck every once in a while, will you? Loosen up. Let your hair down.
Yeah, dude. Skiva's not here to yell at me for
I
swearing.
know, right? He can't punch you from across the desk.
Xbox Game Pass only says Roots hasn't left, has he? No, Roots has not left. But it gets lonely here. Eric's a very busy man. So I thought it would be good to bring in a third amigo. And I love Alex. He's one of my favorite people in the world and one of the most knowledgeable VR people I know. So it just kind of 2 + 2 makes 4, right? Like, can do better. So Alex is going to be joining us from time to time as well now. But no, Roots is not gone. Again, we talked to Roots today. He seems like he's in a pretty good headspace. So I think we'll be seeing Roots really soon.
Hell yeah.
Did we have Slippies today? We did. Mr. Lord Beavis slipping in.
You know who loves when Mr. Lord Beavis slips it in? My mom.
Yeah, she does.
People are right. I don't like the new My Mom. I'm just saying. Oh man,
it just sounds like my mom to me.
Oh no.
All right, I'll have Roots send me the old one over. I suppose.
Yes, please.
Let's see here. The Stig slipped in. What's up, Stig? Good to see you. I think that might be it. What else?
Mal just slipped in.
Oh, Silver Nexus is here. Mal, what's up? Diz, did we say hi to Diz? What's up, Diz? Robbie Y slipping in. Yeah, we've got quite a few people slip in. Anyway, I think that's everyone. If I missed you, I apologize. Welcome. Thank you for coming home early, staying up late, waking up early, whatever the case may be for you. We're glad you're here. We got cool shit to talk about. But before we get into talking about the actual game, Vendetta Forever, I wanted to take the opportunity to show you where Eric got that shirt. And it was from this cool care package. So you probably would be better showing this off than me, Eric, but
I will. Yeah, it was in a kick-ass bag. I love these bags.
yes.
People ask me all the time if my backdrop is a green screen, and you can tell it's not a green screen. I got no
yeah, I don't have a green screen either. I use NVIDIA Broadcast, which is AI, and it tries to guess which is me and which is not me. And it works most of the time, but I have a hard time showing off these PR boxes sometimes.
I do have to say, this is one of the coolest things I've ever gotten in a PR box, and it's probably one of the most simple things in the world. But if you played the game, it makes so much sense, and I freaking love it. A pencil.
Oh, the pencil. Yeah. From
Vendetta Forever.
Yeah, this is from
the
level Neon Vengeance. So the way the game works is you start off with a weapon in each level, and then from there you have to move forward by picking up weapons from the enemies you kill. But in Neon Vengeance, which by the way if you pay really close attention to Neon Vengeance, you might just see that logo hanging on the wall. And it looks great. It looks better than it looks here, by the way. So thanks for that, Xander.
Dude, that's
Anyway,
so sick.
Hell yeah.
it is cool. It is cool. So anyway, the first weapon in Neon Vengeance is this pencil. So that's super cool. You're right. A little outside the box with some of these, like cassette tape.
I love the tape deck, man. I love it.
And the tape looks badass too. It's just red
Oh,
plastic.
you know what? I never opened the tape. I haven't actually didn't look inside. Oh,
Yeah.
it does look sick. Look at that.
Yeah. And if you don't have,
Have you played
I
it
don't,
yet? I don't have a tape deck, dude.
no, my son has, and my son collects retro tech. So he's got tape decks and VCRs and everything in his room. But, there is a QR code inside the cover, so
Yeah, I
you
see that.
can scan that and download the digital version of the soundtrack.
Hell
So that's
yeah.
super cool.
I gotta say, I
Um,
love these things. Like a couple of there was what was the tiger game? Remember there was something with tiger in it.
Tiger Blade.
Tiger Blade. They sent me a CD that had music on it, which was kick-ass music. Arcade Paradise sent an album, a record album, which was cool. And then we get a tape deck here. So when's my 8-track coming from the next game? I'm ready for my 8-track.
We've got some flare. They sent some flare over, which are these little buttons here that have all the symbols from the game on it, from the logo. There we go. You can see my ring light really well in it.
Brian's too funny. Is at the moment you find out Wes's kid's way cooler than you.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, he was talking to me, Brian, the other day about what is that handheld emulator that you recently picked up or console that you got to play the ROMs. I don't remember what the name of it was, but he was asking me for that very same one.
XR Arcade?
No, that's not it.
You talking about me or talking about Alex?
I'm talking about Brian.
Oh, that Brian got. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
But there is a new thing that's out called XR Arcade, which is like it looks like a mini arcade cabinet with no screen. It's like a deck, like an arcade deck that's supposed to be able to run ROMs onto your VR headset.
Maybe I
flat
don't think so, Brian.
ROMs?
I think it's something else.
me
I'll
look it up.
remember it when I see it. Not that important. Speaking of arcade, XR arcade, I had my heart broken last week when I was away at Kings Island. I hadn't been there since pre-COVID, and one of the things we always love to do is go to the arcade there because it's the only place that I'm ever at that has like semi-modern games. But for the first time ever, now that I'm back there in like 5 years, they had a VR game in there. And it was like some co-op thing like King Kong or some kind of crazy shit like that. It was a shooter. And I wanted to try it out. It's $25. But when I got up to this cabinet, it had the oldest, grungiest, nasty ass fucking HP Reverb G1 headsets that you ever seen in your life attached to it.
No way.
And there was like dead skin and old makeup all across the band. And you could tell that whoever had this thing there did not know anything about maintenance. And I didn't even want to touch that thing with my hands, let alone put it on my face. So unfortunately, I didn't get to play it. But it was cool that they had VR there for a while. People were stopping to look at it and then doing what everyone else does and just saying, "Ooh, no, I'm not touching that to my face."
Yeah, here,
Dude.
Wes, I'm gonna send you a link, Wes, for this. It's called Xcade. Arcade XR. No, what is it called? Hang on. It's called
Polymega.
X
That's the one,
Arcade.
Brian. Polymega.
This
XR
thing
Arcade.
is cool. This X, it's called like the letter X, a dash, and an arcade. I'm gonna send you the link here in Discord right now.
Okay, cool. And
You
by
could
the way,
maybe
while
even,
he's doing
if you want
that,
to show it on screen, it's pretty cool.
I also got this awesome Vendetta Forever shirt. And yeah, so thank you to In Dreams. Thank you to Meet Space Interactive. Really cool care package that they sent over. And there's more stuff in the game. There's not just what I mentioned before with the Strangers in the Night logo. There's other stuff too that we'll talk about in a moment while we're talking about the game. And yeah, you guys are gonna love this. But Eric just sent me this link, and let me see if I can get this up here so we can see it. I can't. I won't be able to do it with. I don't think. Maybe. Which channel did you send it to, Eric?
I just sent it to
Um,
your personal.
if I go over
I guess
there and get it, if I go
I
over
can
there
send
and get it,
I can send it to the channel we're in now.
yeah, send it to the channel we're in now. I can get it from there without messing your cameras up.
There you go.
Cool. So we're going to open this link. Bear with me just a moment, ladies and gents.
It's pretty cool looking, man. I mean, it's basically it's like an arcade deck, and then I don't know.
Add a window capture.
Is this it? I don't even know if this is it now. Maybe this isn't it. I thought this was it.
Maybe this isn't it.
Yeah, maybe this isn't it now.
You got Wes jumping through hoops for a thing that maybe it isn't it.
I thought this was it.
Unbelievable.
I know somebody was trying it. One of the content creators, they sent it to one of the content creators. It might have been Matt BMF. They sent this thing to him, but this is it. It looks like like the deck of an arcade cabinet, just the deck, no screen, right? Because you don't need the screen. You're in the headset.
Unleash your
So
creativity inside the authentic arcade experience for VR. So that's Arcade
don't know.
Legend.
Yeah, I don't
we
think
know
that's it.
about
Though.
Arcade
I don't know if this is it. I don't think that's it.
Eric, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about, bro.
Probably.
What is this?
All right. So we'll come back to this topic. We'll come back to this topic.
I'll find out.
on
You keep
another
talking. I'll
episode.
find out what it is because it's pretty cool. Whatever it is pretty cool. Like I said, Matt BMF is trying it out. Let me see if he has it on his channel. I know he talked about it. Anybody in chat know what it is? What it is?
Were you talking about an XR device that runs ROMs?
This is an actual physical thing that you're going to use with your headset that has everything kind of built into it, and it looks like the deck of an arcade cabinet.
And it plays ROMs.
It plays arcade games.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I don't know if it actually.
I don't remember what it's called, but I think I remember seeing this thing forever ago. Was it like a crowdfunding project or something?
It may have been. That's good. I don't know.
Yeah, it just looks like one of those like MAME boxes that have joysticks and buttons on them, and you can play multiplayer. So like the ones I've seen, you sit on a table and you plug into your TV, and people gather around the coffee table and play arcade style. What Eric's talking about is something like that, but you put a VR headset on and it plays in 3D. Is that right? Beavis,
yeah.
Lord Beavis just sent me something. This might be it. Let's see.
Way to go, Lord Beavis.
Actually, I'm gonna have. All right, bear with me just a minute because you guys are gonna go away when I click on Beavis here.
There's this guy I know. His name's Sam, and I forget the company that he works at, but they made a pinball machine. It's an XR pinball machine.
Really?
So yeah, so the machine itself isn't there, like the ball and like the flippers and all that stuff is all done in VR, but you stand at a table with buttons on the side of it. So as you're like pushing
Yeah.
the buttons, you wear a headset, and in front of you is a pinball machine.
That's
There you
pretty
go.
freaking cool, man.
This is it, Eric.
That is what I'm talking about. There it is. The Arcade 2 TV XR.
Arcade
to a
to
virtual
TV.
arcade.
Arcade 2 TV XR. So basically, you can see it. It's just a deck, and it looks like a 2-player deck. It has a trackball in the middle, and then it's a little expensive, $4.99. I didn't realize it was that much, but
So is it? It's just it's a controller, or does it also have a computer in it?
I don't know.
Right? Yeah, because it almost looks like
you
a
can play it
controller.
flat too. Oh no, it's so look. It's part of X Arcade, the one I just showed you. Because look, Wes, scroll down a little bit. That's the X Arcade that I originally showed you.
Okay.
So it looks like maybe it's the same company.
I'm confused about
that
what
one
this
picture
is
is that
because
guy
one of the
playing
things that
with no headset on.
one of the things they're offering you is Quantar,
Yeah. Well, they're
which
two
is a
games
great
from
game,
it.
but it's a free to play on Quest, I believe.
Well, and that's interesting because with a game like Quantar, I'm pretty sure you need your hands for certain abilities, like special abilities and stuff. You like place them with your hands and things like that. So that's interesting because wouldn't you like need controllers? Oh, maybe you don't need your hands for Quantum. I'm pretty sure you do
Okay.
though.
So
I think
there's
you can use your controllers though. You have to place things though, like you said, but I think you can still use your controllers. I don't think you have to use your hands.
okay. So
Mm,
basically, this is a VR arcade, and basically it lets you go into your VR headset and feel like you're at a real arcade cabinet, because you have the buttons and joysticks in front of you, and I guess it tracks one to
Mm.
one. It must,
GT
which is
says he
pretty
thinks he has
cool.
one coming.
You know what? I would really love to have something like this for pinball. That would be
Mm.
great. If they had a peripheral like this that was compatible with Pinball FX, that would be incredible. Because that's
yeah,
the one
dude.
thing that's missing. Like I can play arcade emulators and that's fine in VR without the like the joysticks or the controllers and stuff. Like playing Pinball FX without being able to feel the vibrations and all of the stuff and pull the knob in real life, it really makes it's a kind of an immersion breaker, right?
Yeah, but you know who loves to pull the knob in real life?
You cut me off guard.
So
My
my
mom.
my homie goes by Cyberspace Sam on Twitter. Sam Matios, I think is his name, and he's from a company called Spacebar Games. They made exactly what you're talking about, Wes, where
Oh,
it's
really?
a yep, I was saying it while you were messing around with your Discord format.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's a kid that they were at an event recently, and it was not the kid's first time in VR, but it was the kid's first time ever playing pinball. And he's standing at a machine with buttons on the side. I'm assuming there's haptics built into it also. That's a total assumption, but if it doesn't have haptics, it absolutely should. Because to your point, Wes, you kind of need that like feel of the thumping and stuff like that for this to like really be a more visceral experience with the pinball machine. But yeah, he's got a video of it on his Twitter right now of a kid standing in front of a pinball controller but wearing a headset, and there's no actual pinball machine.
That's
That's
pretty sick.
awesome.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is awesome. All right. Anyways, this is about to get off the rails. I've got people sending me EMU VR in Discord, which, by the
Nice.
way, we've talked about before, and it's something I'd love to cover because it just gets awesomer and awesomer and awesomer. But we have real games to talk about, like actual VR games made for a VR headset. So I'm going to insist that we go ahead and do that. But thanks for bringing that
Wait
up.
a minute.
That looks
We're
so
gonna talk
cool.
about VR? What?
Hmm. We
Let's
are.
talk
We're
about
going to
Alex's
start.
Beat Saber sweater.
Do you want to talk about that? That is coming. I
Who
actually
who
acquired
who
one.
who's sending it to you? Because I'll give him $10 to send it to me so I can burn it in front of you.
Yeah, I have to send more than that, man. It's going to take more than $10. Matt from the Golf Plus team. So this
No
is
shit.
yeah. So for what was called Quest Day back in the day, like I think it was like
I
right after
remember
the
Quest
Quest
Day.
2 came out, they
Hmm.
did
Oh,
this promotional Christmas event called Quest Day,
it's Questy.
where yeah, all day long they gave out like promotional physical items that were connected to Quest. Questy, the plush, the stuffed Questy, I
I
did
got a
manage to
Quest
get
too.
one.
Yep.
Yep, I got one during Quest Day, but what I did not get was this super badass, totally custom Beat Saber Christmas sweater. And ever since then, I have taken to Twitter basically annually and put out the feelers and said, "Hey, people, I have money. You have that Beat Saber sweater. Why don't you hit me up?"
I hope it's a
And
small.
it's
Small.
not. It's a large. It's going to look great on
Damn it.
me. I'm so
Damn it.
excited. Matt from Golf Plus answered the call, and he was like, "Yo, pay for shipping. Shout out
Matt,
Golf Plus, and you
just
get
so
it."
you know, right now, I'll give you $50. Send it to me instead. $50 more than what Alex was going to pay you.
Dude, I don't know what the hell your problem is, man. All right, Beat Saber is amazing. The sweater's gorgeous. I'm gonna look
Oh
good
my
in it.
God. Yeah,
So
well.
like why do you want to take this from me? I thought we were friends.
All right.
I just want to
So
take BB Saber to
it's
zero.
the day one you come here, and I'm already going to have to boot you, man. You can't like Beat Saber and be on the show. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
It's Boot Saber.
Boot Saber.
Boot
Boot Saber
Saber.
sounds better.
It does.
Hello, wife. All right. Anyway, let's get to it. Let's talk about game numero uno this week. Vendetta Forever. I always want to call it Vendetta Rising because of the old Preda Vendetta Rising on PlayStation VR 1. But this is called Vendetta Forever. It launched last week on PlayStation VR 2 and Meta Quest. Now, you guys are already familiar with this game. As you know, well before the game launched, I had competed in a content creator competition on the Quest version, and we covered it then. I showed you guys my run through the levels and gave you some strategy on how to speed run in this game. But what I had not done at that time that I have done now was play this game on PlayStation VR, which is very similar. But you do feel the difference. You feel the difference in the haptics. You see the difference in the OLED. As usual, even when we get a pretty straightforward port from Quest, it's still better. It's still better on PlayStation VR for some reason. So what you're going to be watching here is actually my footage playing through this for the first time on PlayStation VR, seated. I played on Quest, standing up and jumping around everywhere. Everything you see here is seated. And keep an eye on the footage because, like I said, I have logos in this game, ladies and gentlemen. They had 3 contests and an overall. So there was 4 contests. I won all of them. So I had them put our Strangers in the Night logo in the game. I had them put the Without Parole logo in the game. I had them put, well, I had them put the Virtual Strangers logo in the game, but I can't find it. I went to the level and took my time and have not been able to find it yet. So, um, so I don't know. Maybe I need to get up with you, Xander, after the show and see if you can give me a hint where to find that thing
Yeah.
at. That would be awesome. Also,
Impact Rally?
no, no, we didn't get the
God
Impact
damn it.
logo in there. Maybe next time. Um, also, I did get to name one of the achievements. Now, um, I was told that it would be on Quest at launch, and then it would come to PSVR later. I checked PSVR today. I didn't see it. I haven't checked Quest to see if it's there. But if it is, you guys find it. The first one that finds it and tells me what it is and comes back here and tells me, I'll give you something cool. I don't know. We'll give you a game key or something. But you'll know it when you see it. That's all I'll say. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about this game. This is a this is an arcade style. I don't know how to explain it. It's a very unique game. Um, 60 levels, a ton of content here, all with the kind of cool art style that you see here. But the concept is at the beginning of the level, they give you an objective. Sometimes it'll be kill all the enemies, sometimes it'll be kill a certain enemy. And all the while, it's tracking your time, it's taking score, you're running up your combos. It's an arcade style shooter. Um, if I had to compare it to something, uh, probably Zombieland Headshot Fever,
Hmm.
but not linear, right? It's a similar thing, but you have choices of where you go. You don't have to go down a certain line. The way it works is you kill an enemy, they throw a weapon up in the air, and you grab that weapon to teleport to the next node. So it's like a cross between Zombieland Headshot Fever and what was that game, Eric? What was it called? Desperate
Oh, yeah,
Vladivostok.
Desperate Vladivostok. Yeah.
Yeah, it had that same mechanic where you grab the
Yeah.
weapon out of the air and it pushes you forward.
Yep.
Here's the
Dude,
difference. It's
it
way
feels
better.
like super hot to me, man.
Mhm.
Like I got such heavy super hot vibes from this. And to me, it's like almost like a natural progression of the super hot formula if you subtract the whole time dilation thing. Like this to me, it's like if you subtract the time warp mechanic from super hot and then add some of the linear level progression stuff of something like a zombie land, but with a little bit of freedom to move around as you please. That's kind of where I feel like this game lands. Because in super hot, you're doing a lot of catching weapons. And, if you took that game seriously, you would realize that like each of those scenes were actually teleporting you through a building linearly, and you could like finish a scene, grab your gun, and then like throw it to where you know the next one is going to be, switch over there, and then catch that
Wow.
gun to keep moving. So like it's that vibe that I was like immediately transported to when I played Vendetta Forever, and I think this improves on that. I think this is it's easier to get into a flow state with this, and you feel like a fucking badass while you are grabbing all of these weapons and just pushing your way through all these enemies.
You know what really reminds me of Super Hot is the way you have to defend, right? Because you can't
Mm.
sit still, especially when the enemies around you have shotguns. And it's not like it's easy to not get hit. There are literally enemies surrounding you in many of these scenarios, especially if you're speed running, right? And you're trying to skip enemies. If you're trying to skip enemies, you've always got guys behind you, and if they have shotguns, it is hard to duck. So I don't know if you noticed this, Eric, but I had some real heavy super hot vibes just trying to duck and weave around all of that stuff.
That's why I
Um,
can't believe you played in a chair. Like I tried
I'm
for a
good,
minute
bro.
to play
I'm
in my
good.
chair, but the problem, I mean, I can move fine. Like I'm not move, but I can like spin and turn and everything. For me, it's the dodging part that's really hard. Like I mean,
Mhm.
unless you have the right setup, like I just prefer to play it. There's I can
It's
play
better.
pretty much any game sitting, and I very often, especially for long things. You know who likes long things? Especially
Mm.
for long sessions, I'll stand for a little while, and then I'll
Mom!
sit for a little bit, and then I'll go back to standing again. For this one, I don't really know how you did it because I tried to sit, man, and I just did not feel comfortable trying to, like, dodge the bullets. So I ended up standing for every session I've played so far. I've stood.
So it is better standing. That's the reason why when I was actually competing earlier, I played standing almost exclusively. I have recently been dealing with some health stuff though that makes it difficult for me to stand for short periods of time, let alone long ones. So I kind of was forced to play it sitting down. But the good news is that I got good enough at the game back when I was practicing it that I was actually able to sit and play it this time. Now I did have to bob and weave and do some nice head movement in my chair. Um, but it's playable. It's playable after you get good. You can definitely play sitting down. It's one of those games that you just repeat, and I'm sure you guys have noticed from the footage here that you just play it over and over and over again until you get good. Although Alex, I don't know if you experience this. Maybe it's just me having Dane Bramage from the competition, but speed running is not always the intended thing that you're supposed to do, but I can't help it. Like I try to speed run these levels just by default, and that can hurt you on the leaderboard in certain scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost hard for me to say this as somebody who like enjoys winning and like enjoys being at the top of leaderboards and setting high scores and stuff, but like VR provides this space for expression that other gaming just simply doesn't. And with games like this, I am a lot more concerned about feeling awesome and looking like a badass than I am like setting a high score or getting on a leaderboard. Like don't get me wrong, I could see myself chasing high scores and stuff like that in this game at some point, but even like Beat Saber, like I'm not a high score chaser for Beat Saber. I will never be one of the better players, but it just feels so good to do. And Vendetta Forever is kind of one of those games. Like it just feels amazing, and it's almost like being put, as like the protagonist in an awesome action scene or something like that. And you can just like push through all these bad guys and do a little spin move here, or go for the double tap on this one. And I highly recommend people remember that when they're playing this game and games like it. Like it really is about expression. There's the space there for you to allow yourself to feel awesome and to find that flow state with it. So that's
Yeah,
kind of been more of it for me.
it's very similar to Pistol Whip in that aspect, but even more so because Pistol Whip forces you down their rail, right? You get to progress in this not only at your pace, which is very quickly, but you get to choose the path. Wherever there's an enemy, that's a path for you to go to. So you get to be creative, and you get in that flow state, and you just kind of you stop thinking about it, and that's the sign of a good arcade shooter or a good arcade game in general, is when you get into that flow state and you're just acting before you think, and this game does that very, very well. um Eric, people in the chat, I think Xander was even calling it John Whip,
John
like it's
Whip,
John
yeah.
Whip, but it's like pistol whip.
Yeah, I'm pissed. I'm like halfway with this one because I'm a huge fan of Zombieland Headshot Fever, and I actually think I'm enjoying this game a little bit better because it's a mix for me. Like to me, this is like the perfect mix of what I loved about Zombieland Headshot Fever and what I didn't like about Pistol Whip, which was that it was like a it felt like it was on rails. And here, this is node based, point to point, but I still feel like I'm moving here more than I am in Pistol Whip for some reason. Because Pistol Whip, you're just going down that corridor, man, and you're not moving. Here you feel like you're going in different directions. You're moving. I'm spinning constantly, trying to figure out where that next enemy is coming from. When I go to that next position, if it's a level I don't have memorized yet, I'm like, where the fuck is this guy? Because I know there's somebody here in this room. I can't see him. He's not directly in front of me. I'm just constantly spinning, so I'm constantly moving. So what I don't like about Pistol Whip, this is better, and I actually like it a little bit better than Land Headshot Fever because I feel like the whole idea of grabbing the gun, I don't know, like when the gun goes up in the air and you have to like go forward and grab it to like kind of like move yourself forward. I like that a little bit better than just point and click at my next node like Zombieland does. So I don't know. I'm getting the best of both worlds with this game because I love both of those games. But man, this game, I don't know. There's just something about it that like I just want to keep
So
keep playing it.
listen, at the risk of getting ahead of myself here because we haven't started talking about Batman for reals. I need to like talk about this because this game and Batman both do something that we haven't seen a lot of in VR. And I think it is like a big key to the success for both of these games. And it's combining your movement with other actions. Like when you are playing this game to move, you're grabbing the gun. So what you're really doing in your brain is like grabbing that gun and then like the rest kind of follows with it. You like you like get close, and in Batman, you look at somebody, you throw a punch at them, boom, you fly over there. So it's like allowing you to like not have to think or worry about locomotion or teleporting when you want to take an action.
That's
And
true.
that combination is the magic in this game, and in my opinion, it's the magic of the combat of Batman. I don't have to be thinking about positioning myself properly with these
Yep.
enemies. I can just get straight into the action and enjoy it, and that is chef's kiss.
You
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
like too though with that movement of grabbing the gun to move? You have to think about which gun you wanna give up to move. Like, I found myself constantly like, I got a good gun, or like, I get this Uzi and I wanna keep this Uzi, but I don't wanna like so you have to think about what hand you're gonna go and grab that next weapon with. So, there's a lot like, just that motion of grabbing the weapon and moving yourself forward it's you have to think about it, which is cool.
So Xander asked in the chat if we had tips for him how to make the seated experience better, and I really don't. Um, Off the top of my head, I do have some tips for people who want to play seated, and it does kind of tie into what you were saying there with Batman. One of the things I really liked about the Batman combat was how they did counter strikes, right? When someone's attacking you from the side or from behind. And I would say that what this game does is very similar as well. By the way, everyone look at the screen. I paused the video so we didn't miss just how
Boom.
awesome this looks. Boom, there it is. Um,
Nice.
but my biggest thing, other than move your head, um, never stop shooting. Um, you want to move to every node when you're seated. Like with when you're playing standing, you're more likely to be able to skip guys and shoot past them and zoom past them. If you stop for a split second in your chair, you're going to get shot. So you're going to want to kill more guys. You're going to want to grab, because when you're grabbing and teleporting, you can't be hurt, or at least it seems like they can't hit you when you're moving. So you never want to stop that movement. You want to keep it going nonstop. So that's kind of the biggest tip I would have for anybody trying to play this seated. But the biggest tip I would have is stand up, because
Mm.
man, I worked up a sweat playing this even just in my chair. Um, Very active game. Um, before we move on, I do want to just point out one more thing. I think we've pretty much covered most of the high points of the game. Um, I do want to make sure that we're very clear though what makes this game good. And you could have this concept and hand it to five other developers, and it would not be right when it came out, and people wouldn't enjoy it. The reason why this game is good is because it's been in development for years and it's polished. This is a polished gameplay experience. There is zero, well, I won't say zero. There is minimal jank in this game. And I think that that's kind of the key here that makes the format fit and does kind of make this a worthy successor to Super Hot. Um, I will say this though, Alex, how weird is it that a game like Cold VR comes along, which blatantly tries to rip off Super Hot, but this is a better Super Hot sequel than even that game was.
It's because it's not a ripoff. This game is clearly
Yeah, right.
inspired. Yeah, it's clearly inspired, and the people who made it clearly cared about having a super fun VR experience, and it's so fun and so clean that, you don't even think about like art style or graphics, kind of to the point of the conversation we were having earlier, like they're not doing anything crazy here. It's all very cell shaded, and, for all intents and purposes, it might as well be super hot, but that's not a problem. It matches the vibe of the game. It feels good. It looks good in the headset. Super quality, and yeah, I mean, haven't played too much of it, but I would definitely recommend if this looks like your cup of tea, it probably is.
It's a mark of a great game. Like when you don't care about the graphics, you don't and like there are so many games that rely on the graphics because the gameplay itself is mediocre or it's just lacking or it's not deep enough, and they rely on the stunning effect of how good it looks to make it to carry it through. And when you get a game like this, it's not about the visuals, it's about the gameplay hook and the loop and what's here. Whether it's a flat game or a VR game. You know how many freaking flat games I play now that I'm like, man, this game looks like shit, but it's freaking addicting and I can't stop playing it. But it's not, it's not anything that looks like shit. It's just that it's very basic, or it's not God of War. But not every game has to be like for me. I'm like, yeah, I want a game to look good, right? And when you get the whole package, it's great. But if you give me a great game, okay, that visually I'm like, okay, it's not stunning me, but I want the gameplay first because you know how many games I get into, I'm like, wow, this is beautiful, but it's boring as shit. Like I can only handle so much in kayak VR because there's nothing to do in there. It's boring, man. Like I want a good gameplay loop. Like give me a great game. And I'll go show my friends kayak when I want to show them like what a visually stunning game looks like. But if I want to show them a fun game that they're going to get into and that they're going to want to go back and play that you can get into for 20 minutes or an hour, doesn't matter. This is the kind of game that we want to get. This is what you want to show people. So all the people, everybody's always like, "Oh, I need to show off VR. I'm going to show them Half-Life Alyx, or I'm going to show them, Kayak VR." Go show them a game that they can jump into for 20 minutes and get out and be fine, or the game they can go and play for 45 minutes to an hour because it's got that, I just want to play one more, give me one more run at this. I can beat that time. I can beat Wes's time. Give me one more chance.
You can't
Those are the
beat my
kind of games
time.
that hook you in.
Watch your
That's the one
mouth.
you should be showing your friends. Oh, I'm going to beat
Watch your
you in this one. No
what's your dirty mouth? You're not gonna beat my times. What are you talking about?
problem.
All right. Down to brass tacks, gentlemen. I think we've been pretty clear that this is a very polished arcade gameplay experience that induces flow state rather quickly in it. It's one of those games that you repeat and repeat and repeat until you get perfection, and then when you finally hit that perfection, it's like a warp speed ballet. It's amazing. Um, but $25 available now on Meta Quest and PlayStation VR 2. If you play on Quest, while you don't get quite as good of haptics and you don't get your OLED panels, there is a demo, so you can play it before you buy it, and and you can get the referral. So like, if you want to get your 15% off or whatever, just tag me up or tag somebody up on our Discord. Invitation in the description down below. Um, and yeah, we can get you a little bit off of that. But so I guess the question is, Eric, we'll start with you. $25. What do you think about the price? Is it worth it?
Definitely worth it. Definitely. There's a lot. Games like this, when you have leaderboard chasing, there's so much replay. Like this is a game you can go back to at any time.
60
Definitely.
levels too. Like
Yeah.
it's 60 replayable, very replayable levels. Macho says it is. Oh, he's waiting on it. He's going to wait for a sale. When he gets it for $20, he'll pick it up.
Mm.
Fair enough. Alex, what do
You
you
know,
think? $25?
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, when I compare it to like stuff in life, it becomes an absolute no-brainer. Like you compare it to like how many coffees it takes you to get to $25, and it's like, yeah, $25 is worth it. 60 levels, like awesome gameplay loop, like done deal. When you start to compare it to like the price of other games, then it like starts to become a bit of a harder question to answer. And I get this like analysis paralysis sometimes when it comes to like picking some of these up, wherein like I wouldn't think twice about getting like the venti,
Right.
pecan, whatever. So like I've tried to like, I don't know, be a little bit more, I guess, like lenient and loose when it comes to game pricing as I've gotten more and more into this stuff. All that to say, $25 at my first gut feeling is that it $5 cheaper would make more sense. But I do think it's worth every cent of $25.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think that it's definitely, in terms of quality, in terms of the amount of content and the amount of hours you're going to put into it, it's worth $25 all day. I do think that a lot of players out there still haven't adjusted to the new world and how much dollars are actually worth now. Um, and I think a lot of these players are going to have a difficult time dropping $25 on an arcade style game, you know? So I agree with you. I think it's worth it. I think a lot of people are going to wait for a sale. So, like I said, play the demo. If you're playing on Quest, get that referral discount so you don't have to wait. Um, but yeah, it's a thumbs up for me as well. I think it's a great game. Chinatown D in the chat says, my times have been beaten for quite some time now. When was the last time I played Zombieland? Well, obviously, D, it's been a while if somebody has beat my times. Like, you know what it is. If I were there, that would not be the case. And if it weren't October 2024, I would come and reclaim my throne. But you can have it for a while. Anyway, go buy this game, gents and ladies. It's cool. It has our logo in it, and it has a cool achievement. Hopefully, uh, again, first person that finds out what that achievement is, I'll give you something cool. Hit me up in the Discord when you find out, or tag me on Twitter, and we'll throw you a game key or something. With that said, before we move on, Xander, thank you for joining us in the chat. I do want to talk to you like off air. So either join our Discord by clicking the link in the description below, or otherwise just leave a message in the chat here for where's the best place for me to find you. Is it on Twitter? Is it on Discord somewhere? Let me know, and I'd love to talk to you off air sometime. Anyways, Vendetta Forever, PSVR, MetaQuest, $24.99. Get it today. Moving along, we are going to talk a little bit about a game that we've been anxiously anticipating since it was first announced. And what is new is old again, or what is old is new again. And I'm talking, of course, about Arizona Sunshine Remake. Boom, gotcha. I'll send you an email, Xander, or if you come to the Discord, we'll talk in there. Thank you. Thanks again for joining. I don't believe Alex has played this one yet. So I'm going to talk to Eric about it a little bit here. And feel free to chime in with any questions you might have, Alex, because I know that you did play the original Arizona Sunshine, right?
Yeah, and I'm like halfway through a playthrough of Arizona Sunshine 2 right now, which is like why I haven't fired this one up.
So I imagine that this, yeah, I'm in the same boat, and I struggled with that as well. And I wouldn't have done it, except for it's not spoiling anything. I've played through Arizona Sunshine a million times. This is probably the one game, the one campaign that I have finished more than any other campaign
Mhm.
of any other game in VR. Like I've played this and played this and played it out. Love the original. One of the biggest fans of that game. So I was super stoked to hear that they were remaking it in the new engine. And Eric, what I love about this is it is what we thought it would be. Uh, Vertigo Games has had a very natural, trackable progression from Arizona Sunshine, big jump to After the Fall to a next gen game engine, and then they modified that for Arizona Sunshine 2, and then they took that engine and applied it to the old favorite, and that's exactly what you get here. You get the original campaign, all the DLC, but you get it made in the beautiful new modern VR game engine.
Yeah, and the mechanics are different now too. So the mechanics are upgraded to the the Arizona Sunshine 2 mechanics,
Right.
which so you get the visuals, you get the way the mechanics work a little bit, and man, it's so good. Like I haven't played. So you finished this game a lot. I finished it I think once, right? And I've been in the multiplayer, the co-op for a lot, quite a bit. But it's been a long time, man. It's been a long time since I've been through this game. Like you knew where checkpoints were. You're like, I know where this is. You're like, hey, remember where that radio was over here? And I'm like, no. It's been years since I played this game. So to get back in here again and then see it in the glory of looking at it, like because Arizona Sunshine 2 is one of the best games I played. I played it and beat it in like 3 days, like, from which for me is, like, almost impossible just because I don't have the time to usually do that, but when I get hooked on a game to where it just, like, runs me through it and I have to finish it, that was Arizona Sunshine 2 for me. So just be and it was gorgeous and it was beautiful and I loved the way it played. So to see this game that I already love and I haven't played in years back in that beautiful glory of that engine, that new engine, it's freaking amazing, man. I love this is so smart, and I wish we would see more developers take some of these games that are like this and do this, like, because the whole idea of this, the remaster of it basically is just such a good idea, especially when you have that engine already there. It's not that big of a lift to do these things, and it just makes a ton of sense to me, Wes. This is one of the like, if you've never played this game and you're jumping in now for the first time, it's one of the best games you're gonna play on Quest or PlayStation or wherever, your Steam, wherever.
Absolutely. And that brings me to a very interesting point here. And I'd be interested to know what the chat thinks about this. So, like, obviously, Arizona Sunshine 2, Resident Evil 4, Batman, Metro. I mean, we could just keep going with all of the awesome front runners and nominees for Game of the Year this year, which, by the way, is coming up quick. We're in November now almost. We're only going to be doing regular episodes for about 2 more weeks. And then we have to go into show prep mode for 2024 show. Um, but how do we treat this game in terms of Game of the Year? Like, it's a new game technically. They remade it. It's not exactly the same. There are small changes to the maps. They have the weapons from Arizona Sunshine 2 in it. You can do melee now. You have new inventory. Like, it is technically a remake. Um, but it's I wouldn't call it as stark a difference from the original as maybe some other remakes that we've seen. Um, so I know you haven't played it, Alex, but I would be interested to know what your thought would be. Should this be given its own nomination? Should we bundle it with Arizona 2 since it is the same engine and just call them both like the same game and treat them the same? Or do you think or do you think it's
That's
just
tough.
disqualified altogether?
Yeah,
Because
that's really tough, man. It seems like it's I don't know. This is like such this is a problem that really has only truly started to become a thing across gaming in the past, 5, I guess, years or so. Like maybe 10, but more closer to 5. Like I feel like remasters of quality games is becoming a pretty regular occurrence,
yeah,
like eventually games hit a certain caliber of success or popularity or whatever that the studios take a look at them and say, well, this is such a good game. We don't want the limitations that we had faced previously to prevent new audiences from enjoying it, and like when it comes to that and like the idea of bringing a new audience to an older game, I personally am like a bit of a purist, like I think that if you want to remaster a game that like set itself apart from all the other games when it came out, that as close as you can get it to the original experience, the better, you know. Um and to your point, like I haven't played this game yet, but it does seem like they took some liberties here and there to like make it a better experience. But are you playing Arizona Sunshine if you play this remaster? Like that's like my question for you before I answer yours. Like, are you playing Arizona Sunshine, or does this actually feel like a new game?
I think the answer to both of those questions is yes. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this during our gameplay, and this is our gameplay that Wes is showing here. That
Yeah,
we jumped in and played co-op, and
but
this was a
by the
question that
way,
Wes.
by the way, this gameplay going up on Patreon this week. Eric and I doing co-op. Him playing on Steam and me playing on PSVR 2. So shout out to the patrons on out there. I have not forgotten you. You're getting exclusive gameplay like a day or two. Sorry for interrupting, Eric.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, you had brought this up, during that gameplay, and we discuss it, on there. So Patreons, go check it out so you can see that discussion live. But it was something I had to think about quite a bit too. I was kind of in the same boat where you, Alex. I'm like, my immediate thought was, you can't put this on as its own game because it's a rehash. But the more I thought about it, and I thought about what is here, what it looks like now, and all the DLC that is here, and I was like, I have to think about this as a new player coming in. Like if we think about it, like in our mind that we've already played this game, yes, that's fine. But this is a full blown game that's probably one of the best looking, best playing games out there that you're going to play right now. So if you're a new person that just came into VR and you got a Quest 3S just now and you're jumping in, this looks like a brand new game, man. And the way it looks, the way it plays, the way it feels, what the whole entire game that you're getting here. There's so much game here, especially with all the DLC, and then the horde mode and the co-op, and there's so much here that I'm like, I have to think that this game deserves the work they put in here, the time they put in. To me, it deserves to stand on its own. And then they're gonna bundle it in. If you already own it, they're gonna give it to you for 9.99.
Yeah.
Like, I would vote for that. We let this thing stand on its own and like let people vote at that point. But I would definitely include it in there as possibility.
So to answer your questions, Alex, this is Arizona Sunshine. The maps are nearly identical in terms of the way that they're laid out. All the cars are where the cars were. All of the buildings are laid out exactly the same. Obviously, it looks way better in the new engine, and there's new assets and there's new zombie models. The story is exactly the same, and the gameplay loop is exactly the same. It is Arizona Sunshine, but the weapons are way better. The physics are completely different. Um, there are new things like I mentioned. There's melee attacks now, and you can dismember the corpses like you couldn't do that before. The horde mode's completely different now. The way that the horde mode works, and there's more maps. I don't even know. All these maps might be in there, but it works differently than it worked before. Um, so it's the same. It's the same game. You get in there and you start playing it, and you're like, yeah, this is Arizona Sunshine. You're going to play it exactly the same way, but it's going to feel different while you're playing it. Better,
Yeah,
feel way better. Yeah,
I'd say it's a new game, I mean, like it's not like Nintendo, releasing Super Mario World on the Switch. You know what I mean? Like just porting it and like basically there you go, there's Super Mario. Now you're playing it on the Switch now, like they didn't just like port it. It's not a port. It really is completely remastered, kind of like Final Fantasy VII's remaster, like I mean, although I didn't play that either, so I can't really speak to the comparisons there. But like, if you look at the two games, they're clearly completely different. So like to put them in as the same game, I don't think makes sense. Obviously, those two games have, decades between them, and this has like what, 10 years? Like when did the first Arizona Sunshine come out?
It uh, 2016, 2017, so like
Wow.
7, 8 years.
Yeah, that's
Eight,
crazy.
yeah, that is crazy. I would say this should surely be its own contender for game of the year. Compare it to Arizona Sunshine 2 and, pick your favorite between the two.
So that means, Eric, that we're going to have to finish both of these games before the end of December.
Okay, make me finish both of these great games. Okay.
By the way, with Arizona Sunshine 2, I've played it enough to have finished it by now. But what I've done is play the first half of the game 3 times with different people. So I need to pick my save back up and finish that thing off. Um, so maybe I'll hop in there with one of you guys to do that before 2024 show gets here.
Well, it sounds like I need to play it too, so.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep, absolutely.
I had fun. We
But
we did the horde mode too for a little bit. We only played one map, but we got pretty. We only did one run, and we got two of us to like level 20 something, 27, something like that.
yeah, upper 20s. That horde map ain't any joke, man. When those
It's
runners
hard.
start
Yeah.
coming from all directions, and there's just two of you in there.
Hmm.
It's a lot to keep up with. And the
Yeah, and
map
it's
we
it's it,
played, like some of the maps will let you run around the map, like the trailer
hmm
park map, let you run in and out of the trailers and stuff, and loot and hide. The map that we played keeps you in the central area, like the OG horde
Yep.
mode.
What I,
And
I like too is it's not after the fall. Like, I know they kind of like made you feel a little bit like after the fall, but after the fall is more like spraying your bullets. You know what I mean? You can get like you can get a machine gun and just spray, and you're gonna get more ammo, and you're gonna be fine. Here, it's still all about headshots. It's about pistol shots a lot. I mean, you get a machine gun later, but Wes, you burn through ammo so fast. Like,
yeah,
it's not. It's just not like after the fall. So it's definitely a more calculated, maybe even a little more challenging horde mode than after the fall.
yeah, you definitely got to be thinking about ammo management. In after you get to like round 10 or 15, like it starts to run thin, and they don't give you a bunch of time to like stock up either. Like even when you have ammo, half the time you can't really load it all up because you've got runners coming in on you before you've grabbed four or five clips. Um, but it's a ton of fun. Anybody that liked the original Arizona Sunshine is going to love this. And I said this to you during the playthrough. Like shooting zombies in VR is just fun. It's just fun. And when you've got a nice modern gameplay engine and nice modern hardware like we have for this, it's next level. People keep laughing about the jank when you pick stuff up. That is there.
Mm.
I wouldn't say that it's as pronounced as the first game, really, but
Watching you, Wes, you had way more issues watching this. I didn't have any issues picking anything up using
oh,
my
really,
Quest 3 on Steam. Like, I'm watching you here now in this video, and like it seemed like you had to like click several times to try and pick items up, and never had that
yeah.
issue.
Well, it's about the way that you tilt your controller. I
Hmm.
got a little bit better at it later, but you have to point it a certain way to highlight it, and then
Yeah.
after that you can pick it up. It's not as intuitive as you would like for it to be, but again, that's very consistent with the original. It was the same way.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
with the touch controllers, like, I can see that being the way with the PlayStation controllers, but yeah, touch controllers, I mean, I had zero issue. The only issue I had one part where like I literally got stuck on a ladder, and remember, and I had to like physically walk off
yeah,
in my
yeah,
my play space. And then there's no animations for the legs climbing the ladders which is funny, but that's hard to do, so I don't blame him for that.
yeah. It looked like Bone Labs, like when you climb in
Yeah.
Bone Labs and your legs just dangle.
You know what I jumped at? You're talking about like just zombies shooting is fun. I jumped back in today to and played the first village level of Resident Evil 4 in Quest, and goddamn, that's still a freaking good game. I mean, you look at that game, you're like, you can tell it's a Quest game, but shit, man, it's still good, and it's all there. That whole entire Resident Evil 4 game is there. Like,
Oh, so you're
that's one
talking
we
about
we
the
forget.
Quest version?
Yeah, the Quest version. I jumped back in today.
Oh,
Just ran the village level. But I just wanted to check something out, and see where the achievement was. And yeah, it was pretty cool. I ran the whole village level, that whole first level, and it just amazes me how good that game is. And it's been out now for 3 years. We don't talk about it as much anymore, but Shit, God, that game is still good. Like,
That's
I feel
good.
like I wanna go back in and run that whole game now.
Well, I'm going to go back in and run the remake on PlayStation
Now that's a
because
different level of good.
yeah, well, it came out during December last year, which was
Yeah.
outside of our nomination window, which means it's a Game of the Year nominee this year. So we need to finish that so that we can judge properly. This is why we're going away, folks. We say we're only going to do a couple more weeks. We have a lot of games that we need to get through or at least get very deep into so that we can accurately and um anyway, I'm losing my vocabulary here. We got
Yeah.
to pick the right game.
Yep.
And we need to be prepared for that. Xander says RE4 still slaps. It does. We just did an article on the Quest version on XR Update last week. Yeah, so check it out for those of you who are interested in
One
that.
quick discussion point on these Arizona Sunshine games
Yeah, yeah.
before we move on. What are your guys' thoughts about like your inner monologue, like your voice coming through, like when you're playing a game like this? Because every time I play Arizona Sunshine, it like is jarring and like I don't know, like almost makes me uncomfortable the first time I hear my character talking. You know, like
Mm.
my character is reacting to things and talking to the environment and saying like, oh wow, well there's a door there, isn't there? You know, just like shit like that. And it's like like I'm having thoughts, like I'm embodying this character. My thoughts should be what's driving all of this stuff forward, and it like breaks my immersion when I hear myself breathing hard or talking or any of that during some of these scenes. So I don't know, I'm just wondering if you guys ever go through that as well.
It seems like it bothers me sometimes in games, but not really in this one. And it may be because this was literally one of the first games that I ever played in VR. So it might just be that I'm just used to it. I've played it so many times. But
Oh, I
it's
should
an
probably smoke it.
interesting puzzle for um, a game developer, right? Because obviously you're a solo character in this game. They want to tell the story without having you just constantly reading in an action game. And not only that, but the story that they're telling is of this guy that's so lonely that he's losing his grip on reality, right? And that kind of unfolds through the campaign. And I don't know how they could effectively tell that without having the monologue going on.
Yeah,
Eric, what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, I mean, I agree with Alex. Like, when it's done poorly, it bothers me. Like, and when there's bad acting, and that's like probably like 50 to 70% of the VR games, that because we normally just don't have the budgets to go get like super good voice acting. This guy is awesome. He's so freaking good. The one-liners are good. They're funny. I love his voice. I love his acting. Like him here, like it makes sense for me. But yeah, when it's done poorly, I hate it. Like it does take me out. But
I
I
I
just like
haven't
this guy.
I haven't played this remake, but in Arizona Sunshine 2, I just want him to shut up. Like
Oh
he
man.
just keeps saying stupid shit, and like he says fuck a lot. Like and in times where like I say fuck in real life all the time and even I was like, okay, like did you need to say fuck there? Like come on. So, I don't know. Like maybe it's just me, but I prefer it when like you're all like the silent protagonist in these types of games, almost like the Mario or the Link, like you don't ever hear Mario or Link discussing their
You
thoughts
know,
in their Nintendo games.
two things. First of all, do you know who else likes to fuck a lot?
My mom.
Um, Second of all, one of the things that really impressed me about this game and all of the modern Vertigo games is just the complete selection of options that you have. It's just options and settings for days. It's like a PC game on PlayStation. I bet, Alex, that you can go in here and turn that monologue down so that you don't hear it. I don't know that, but I bet you can.
Yeah, I would maybe like it more. I mean, there's also a part of me that like has FOMO. Like if I understand that there's like all these voice lines that were recorded for this game, like to just opt out of them because they annoyed me, like there's almost this like thing in my brain that like doesn't want me to do that. I like want to be able to get the full
Right.
experience kind of thing.
Because
But
it's how it
that's good
was
to know.
intended, right? Even if it annoys you,
Yeah.
it's how the game was intended to be played.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel you. Anyways, I don't think that there's any doubt whether or not this is worth it if you have the game already. If you have the original Arizona Sunshine, this is a $10 upgrade, basically remaking the whole game for it, making it better than it ever has been. It's definitely worth $10. Um, I don't even know how much this costs though, if you don't already have it, and I'm going to find out right now. Um, so the question is, do people buy this new? Or do people wait on the original to go on sale and then to buy the upgrade? Because I've bought the original game for as cheap as $5 on certain platforms. I bought it on every platform, um, but used to you could get it pretty cheap. I don't know if they're going to stop doing that now, so that people can't
You
game
can
their
pay a
way up.
discounted price for the remake if you've already purchased the game on another platform.
No, if you own this game, the original version of this game, you can buy the remake for $10.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's such a good deal,
yeah,
man.
What? Oh my god.
I mean, that's
That's
yeah,
really
insane.
a smart way to do it too. Like, I don't know, it makes sense for Vertigo. Think about this. You're hitting for 9.99. You're hitting every person who's already bought this game, right? And uh,
and and it has all the DLC. All that paid
right,
DLC from the first one is included with that $10. And by the way, this is a $30 game right now on sale on PlayStation for $10. So literally, oh wait a minute, maybe it's on sale because it's the upgrade. I don't want to say that just yet, but
but
anyway, go ahead.
it makes so much sense for them. Like literally, the lift of doing this game is not that hard. They already have the engine from Arizona Sunshine 2. So all they're doing is taking the original Arizona Sunshine, all the levels, and where all the enemies are there, and then they're just going to move them into this engine they already have built. So it's not that big of a lift for them. But it makes so much sense. You get some really goodwill by giving it to everybody who's already bought it for 9.99, and then you have that entire audience. You know how many people have bought this game that are like, "For 9.99, I'm going to get this." Like,
Yeah,
you're almost automatically, like, guaranteeing yourself that you're gonna hit that whole audience, where if you were charging full price, people would be like, "Fuck, I gotta go pay $30 again when I already bought this game and all the DLC?" Now at 9.99, it makes a ton of sense for Vertigo. It's super smart.
yeah, I agree, and it's a no-brainer for consumers. This game is $30. It's not on sale like I thought it was. It is $30. Um, it's worth it if you haven't bought the first one. I think it's worth $30. Now, will you probably be able to get that cheaper? Yes. I think that you'll probably be able to find the original for $10 and then buy the upgrade for $10 on most platforms. Um, but with that said, I mean, this is easily a $30 game for me, especially with all the DLC. We'll start with you. Well, you didn't play it, Alex. Never mind.
It's
Eric.
worth it.
He's like, "Yes, damn it, it's worth it."
It's worth it.
Yeah, it is worth it. It's a next gen game. It's a next gen version of a last gen game.
Yeah, at $30, I mean, I'm telling you right now, if you have never played this game before and you're like, "Oh, $30, should I go get this game?" You fire this game up, you're gonna be blown away. Like, this is just as this game is right now, it's one of the best games you're gonna be able you're gonna play on the Quest. So for me, I mean, pay $30 all day long. I pay $30 for games that are garbage. This game is a fantastic game that everybody should play. It's worth $30, especially if you haven't played it before. And if you already have played, 9.99, I definitely would pay
All
9.99
right, final
to get this
question.
again.
Is there a reason to play the original now that this is out?
None.
None.
No
Absolutely
reason.
none. I
No,
can't
you
That
think
wouldn't
of a
want to.
good
There's so
reason.
much jank in that game.
that means they did a great job.
Yeah. No, there is absolutely no reason to do it. Like this game has everything that has, but it's all done better. Where it was all kind of janky before. Like the graphics weren't great. I mean, they could get pretty good on PCVR for the time, but they weren't great on PlayStation. They certainly weren't great on Quest. Um, Now they are. Now, with that said, I have not tried the Quest version yet. I do have access to it. I want to shout out, of course, Vertigo Games for providing us upgrades on all of these. Um, Game of the month is next week. October game of the month. This is going to be a nominee. I will have played the Quest version by next week. So if you're interested in that version specifically, tune in next week. But I bet you it's great. Anyways, 2 down, 1s to go, ladies and gents. And oh, what a doozy have we saved for last as we
Let's just
finally.
call it here. Do we got to talk about it? Let's just call it. We just say goodnight.
Good night,
Yeah, that's fine.
everybody.
Oh, everybody
Um,
wants to talk about the bat.
Batman Arkham Shadow. You know, first of all, I want to say that I did not reach out and even ask for um, a review key for this. Not that I couldn't have, I probably could have, but I've been busy. I didn't want to take the time to do it. And sometimes you just want to reward studios for doing a great work. I did spend 2 weeks trying to talk my wife into getting a Quest 3S so that we can get the game for free, but she doesn't want it, so we bought it, or actually, you bought it for us. The people who donate, the Patreons. Thank you again, all of you, for your support. Um, we picked this game up, $50 game if you don't buy a new Quest. Um, and I was kind of faced with that decision. Do I try to get a video out when everyone else does? But I'm so glad that I didn't, because it was just a fucking chorus of everyone in the world for 3 solid days singing about how this was probably the game of the year. It might be the best VR game that I've ever played. And it just, after you hear that so much, it kind of makes you sick. And if hearing that kind of makes you sick, you might want to tune out now, because this is one of the best VR games that I've ever played. Alex, the question coming into this was, were the rumors true? The promotional materials and the early looks that everyone gave on this game in the months and weeks leading up to it, people were saying that they accurately captured the Batman Arkham system, the flow, the game, the universe in a VR game, but made it into a VR game. And we hear stuff like this all the time, and half the time it's half truth, right? I don't feel like it's a half truth here. I think this might be the best example of a hybrid game that I've ever played. What do you think about this game?
A hybrid game. It's
Yeah, this is
interesting.
it's not technically a hybrid game. Like, a hybrid game would be a game that plays either flat or in VR, and you can play it on either. This isn't that, obviously, but I feel like it could be. And I feel like this is what hybrid games should be. I guess I should have been more clear about that. Whereas I think they could adapt this to flat screens and people could play it with a controller and people would have a blast with it. But with that said, they fully VRified this. So all of those combat situations that you would be in on the flat version, you're using your fists to fight here. But they do it in kind of like a halfway, like, quick time event, where when you start a combination, um, time slows down and they tell you where to punch and what to do, and your success and your combo depends on how well you follow what pops up and how well you're paying attention to the people attacking from the sides. But they did it in such a way that I wouldn't have even ever conceived of doing something like this. It's so brilliant how they've done the combat and the action sequences in this, that I feel like this is the best example of how to do a flat game in VR, even though this isn't a flat game. Does that make
Yeah,
any sense to you?
totally. Yeah, it does. I mean, I think like people. All right, let me say this: when people play video games in general, they like to be immediately good at it. Like a lot of times when people pick up a video game controller, they just want to be like God's gift to that game. They just want to be like just like a hidden latent just genius when it comes to it. They can just pick it up and be the best at it, and at all times. We all know that that's not really a realistic thing to want, but people want to be good at stuff and they want to feel like they get it. They want to feel like they can pick it up and get right into the action and experience the best that that game has to offer without having to like earn it, you know? And I think Batman does this. Like a lot of flat games do, like the Spider-Man games and the other Arkham games, they have this like approachableness to where like within 5 to 10 minutes of holding the controller, you feel like a badass. You feel like you're capable of beating up a whole room of guys and your attacks just chain into each other and it's smooth and it flows, and they have 100% accomplished that here, at least in terms of the combat in Arkham Shadow. There's a lot of other things to
A
discuss.
lot. There's a lot of other
We,
things.
yeah, a lot of times, like I feel like a lot of conversations immediately go to the combat, which makes sense because it's kind of the most engaging and most exciting aspect of the game. But yeah, as far as the combat is concerned, I think it's just approachable yet not instantaneously. Like you still have to earn your points. You still have to like earn your way to the end of that fight, but it's approachable enough where you can just dive right in and feel like you're in there, like mixing it up like Batman. So I think it's got a really good balance of like easy to learn. I don't want to say hard to master, but like not effortless to master.
Right. Eric, it's easy and it's hard at the same time.
Yeah, you know who loves it easy and hard at the same time?
Mhm.
She's easy and loves it when it's hard.
My mom.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, I mean, look, this probably with the gameplay the way it's set up here, and I agree with Alex and what he's saying here. Like, you want to make a game approachable immediately. You want to make a game like time to fun TTF, it's a real thing, and developers look at it all the time, which is basically how much time does it take for me as a player to get in and start to have fun? And when you can almost get in here and immediately have TTF, that is a big deal, man. And when you can feel gratified by the fun that you're having, right? Like because you do feel like a badass. That's where they've gotten this so right. Like the gameplay is so good here, and I have so many not so many. There are people out there going, "This is just a quick QTE, quick QTE, quick time event game," and it's not that. Like if you're thinking that's what this is, like it has that. It may have a feel of that to it, but it's so much not because something we talked about a little bit earlier, which is the movement and the combat, is it makes you feel like you're a badass almost right out of the gate. The way they teach you things is just very much the way the game should be done, and that, like, almost immediately is what's going to drag so many new people into this game and why people are having so much fun with it right away. There's no, like there's no reading, there's no, like there's no, puzzles that get you frustrated in the beginning. It's literally you punching the fuck out of people right away and making you feel like a freaking badass doing it, and that's what people want in VR. They especially now, it all has to be about, like, immediate gratification of give me exactly what I want right now, or I'm gonna take this headset off, or I'm gonna go do something else. That's why we have headsets in closets. And this
Yeah.
game will keep a headset out of a closet.
Yeah, I really like how there's like continuity in between like the scenes and like the different like game modes, I guess, as well. Like when you get into a fight, you absolutely enter combat mode where like now you're all your mechanics are different. You're like in combat mode, kind of like they do with Call of the Mountain. Yeah, the
Yeah,
where
Horizon.
like you go into Horizon and like Call the Mountain, and then as soon as you get into combat, like now all of your movement is like circular around the middle, and it's like it almost feels like you kind of get put into a combat room for like a second. But like with Batman, you like see a group of people, you walk up on them, bam, you punch one, and like bam, now combat is surrounding you. And when that last guy falls and he's knocked out, you walk away and like you go on with the rest of your journey. Like there isn't this like moment of like I mean like where it like breaks your immersion. You walk up on these guys, you start the fight, you kick their asses, and then you keep cruising. Also, I'm assuming if anybody's watching this show that they're like not super afraid of spoiler moments and stuff. I mean, like, because there's a moment I want to talk about the very, very first one of the very first moments. Um, that, I would say stop listening for 30 seconds because I do want to talk about this. Um, when after the opening scene where you become Batman for the first time, Camouflage did such a good job in that initial moment because
Yeah.
the first thing that anybody ever does is like look at their hands. When they like realize that there's somebody else, they look at your hands and then you see on the floor there on the ground you silhouetted from the light that's coming through the window behind you and you can see your ears. Like when we're in VR, we can't see what we look like unless you walk by a mirror or something like that. And they actually do that in that first scene where you're that commissioner guy or
Yeah.
whoever the hell that is. But yeah, when you start as Batman, there's no mirrors around. All there is your shadow, and you look down. That's the Arkham shadow. Like you see your shadow on the ground, and you realize, holy fuck, I'm Batman. And that's just such a brilliant like first moment as Batman that they executed. And sorry if that
Absolutely.
spoiled something for you, but I feel
No.
like I
God
needed to
damn
say
it,
that.
Alex.
And Eric, he's talking about things here, and just the little thing that he said just then. He's talking about a couple of things in here that are both indicative of what we said at the top of the show of standalone VR hitting that next level. The very first scene in this game, you turn around, you open the door behind you, there's a mirror in the bathroom. Typically, when you approach a mirror in a Quest game, it's fogged over, it's glazed over, you can't see a reflection. There's a full working mirror right in the very first scene. And the moment I saw that, I'm like, okay, this is a different type of game. And what he's saying about looking down at the ground and seeing the Batman silhouette on the ground, again, something else. Dynamic shadows in this game. Um, they're not always super sharp like they would be on PlayStation or PC, but they're sharp enough that you can tell, hey, I'm Batman. And the character models, including your own, are just fucking detailed and beautiful. And there's so much about this game that I want to rave about. I don't know where to start because we started on combat, which is part of gameplay, and there's so much more about gameplay that we didn't touch on, and now we're kind of moving into visuals. I want to pull back. I want to go back to gameplay before we move on from it. The combat's great. Okay. The way it works is you lock on the enemies by looking at them. You throw punches to attack, um, and you lunge when you punch. So it's like a dash. It's not just a punch; it's a dash. And when you land the first punch, time slows down and there's like a halfway quick time event that pulls you through a combination to knock the guy down. Now, at any point during that quick time event, you can be attacked from the sides or behind. So you have to constantly have your head on a swivel and be paying attention. You can't just lock onto that guy. And sometimes you can't finish the combination because you have to go counterattack somebody that's coming from the side. So it's not easy, and it's not like a full on quick time event. Um, but other than the combat, which is done great, like they took button mashing and put it in your fist in a beautiful way that I would have never even considered. But you don't have to always take on the enemy head on. There is a lot of stealth in this game. It reminded me at times of Vampire the Masquerade from Fast Travel Games, but done even better with way more options, way more techniques, and way more gadgets. What did you think about the stealth, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, so we talked about earlier in the show that if you have good gameplay, the visuals are not necessary, or they
No,
don't have to be perfect.
they're not
And then
as
I
right.
said, and then I said, but every once in a while, you get one of those games that has it all. And that's what this game has. Like we've
Yeah,
talked about, this game is gorgeous. We've talked about the combat, but then allowing you to do different things in the combat, which is super great. Like they took a lot of like you said, the vampire game Masquerade Justice, but also like a lot of Assassin's Creed Nexus, which I thought was great.
yeah,
Using some verticality, like getting up high, dropping down, getting behind enemies, waiting for enemies to move around so they're not all clumped together to where you can attack one enemy in stealth, take that enemy down, zip yourself back up to another ledge, and then take the other enemies out. Because there's spots here where you can't go full blown like let me just kick somebody's ass because they're going to kill you
yeah.
pretty
They're gonna
quick,
kill you quick.
especially
Yeah,
Yeah, so you have to, like, be methodical and thoughtful and moving through these things, which is great, and then there's gonna be times where you're just gonna freaking wail around, like, and stay away from your TVs and your shit, folks, because if you're going to punch stuff here with this one, because there's times where you're just gonna flail around, and I haven't worked out in a game like this in a long time, like, playing this game, I played it standing every time I played it, and I'm telling you right now, I haven't sweat like this in a long time in a game, probably, like, it feels like a proper workout game to me playing this game sometimes, but then you get those slower moments where it's not about just throwing fists, it's about, throwing a smoke bomb and getting yourself away from, 3 guys with automatic guns that are after you. It's about, maybe dropping down into a trap door, going into like, into a ventilation system to get away from, where all they all are, or get to another player where he's by himself. And then, we haven't even gotten into the detective mode and, like, forget about, like, combat at all. I mean, there's so many different things that they do right in this game to have that gameplay with the beauty, with it's the full freaking package, man.
So
Dude,
he's touching on the detective mode, Alex. I got real like original OG Batman Arkham VR vibes doing the detective mode stuff in this. What about you?
I didn't play original OG Arkham Batman, but I know, I'm sorry, but I loved the detective mode in Batman. And like this is it actually had me feeling like Batman almost more than like the combat and stuff, to be honest, because like a lot of times when I play these style of games, the IPs are less important to me than the interactions that I'm having, the immersion of the world, like how well are the characters being portrayed. It doesn't matter that it's Batman, it could be Superman, it could be anybody. I don't care. Like I'm not like I don't play this game because I'm a fan of Batman, even though I think Batman's cool. I'm playing this because of the quality, the interactions, all that stuff. But that said, when I did my first like true like detective mission, where you're like in that office and you're like trying to figure out like where everybody went or whatever, as you're like glancing around and looking at stuff in the rooms, Batman is talking, right? And here's an example where this didn't bother me at all. In fact, I actually really liked it. Where Batman's like talking and he's like giving you his thought process about like what this is and like what chemicals he's smelling off of this table and stuff. And like it made me realize that Batman's like super smart. He's like
Mhm.
a genius, and like I never really realized that about Batman, but like realizing all the stuff that he knows and like the level of like detective work that he is committed to doing. Like he was like, I need to link it to this guy before I go after him. So I need to get the proof I need before I can go and do this. And I felt like I was along for the ride. Like the story elements in this game and that those mechanics included are pulling me in way more than VR games normally do. Most of the time that stuff is auxiliary for me. It's a cool little thing, a cool little moment or whatever, but I mean I move on, but like I kind of felt like I was Batman and I was smart and I was like putting myself in the shoes of a child, like somebody who's like really young and who loves superheroes still. And like they go in there and they hear Batman spouting off all this scientific shit about these chemicals that these guys are using and stuff. And I can only imagine what it's like to still have like some of my like OG child ability to like pretend and to like imagine and like put myself in the shoes of characters and stuff because I feel like if you're a kid playing this game, like those moments might even be as good or better than the combat.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot more we could talk about with gameplay here. I'm not going to go on. I will say that there are progression trees, like branching
Mm.
out progression trees that you unlock. Fighting and fighting creatively earns you experience points. Experience points levels you up. Every time you level up, you get a point. You can take your point into the menu. There are 4 different categories of your character and equipment, and you pick an upgrade in your upgrade tree. Full on flat game level player progression in this game. In addition to that, um, the combat stuff that we all talked about was all pretty basic stuff, but there's more. If you go into the menu and read through like some of the literature they have for you in there, there are other maneuvers that Batman can do that the tutorial doesn't even bother to teach you, or at least it hasn't yet for me. You have a full move set like a flat Batman game. and you get to learn it at your own pace. So when you add a new move to your repertoire, that's all there. Um, Absolutely magnificent gameplay, which is the most important thing. But what Alex is saying here is absolutely true, Eric. As good as the gameplay is, the story's just as good. And not I don't just mean the writing. I mean the storytelling. This I don't know, and again I've got a long way to go, but right now I really hesitate to try to. I'm worried I might be overblowing it because there, of course, is recency bias naturally. I don't know if I've ever heard a better voice acted VR game than this. Like the voice acting in this game, every character is fucking. They all knock it out of the park. Everyone that I've encountered so far. What do you think about story and acting in this game?
It's really good, and then we do have to be careful of spoilers because I don't want to because there's so many like characters in this game. Like you get farther in, there's so much here, and the voice acting is phenomenal. Like every character, if you know the Batman universe and you're listening to them, you're believing, that is fucking Batman, and it sounds just like Batman, and that sounds just like, Gordon, and sounds just like Malone. Everybody in there you've talked to feels like that's the person because the voice acting is done so well, and it just goes along to that point where I'm saying, like, it feels like the full package, this is AAA VR, this is AAA VR where we normally don't get the visuals of AAA VR on a Quest headset, and this is the whole package. It's like everything is here. The story is fantastic. Like, you get farther in, like, I'm telling you, man, it's so good. Like it's one of the best things of the game. Like, yeah, you keep going. Okay, visuals are great. Okay, gameplay is great. You feel like a badass. The everything is here is good. The detective mode, the stealth, and then you're like, oh man, the story. It's like everything you're doing here is like great. And can you nitpick on some small things? You can, but if you do that, you're gonna ruin what this is, which is a great experience. Just enjoy it for what it is. Like there's so many good points here that again, I don't wanna go into story too much because there's so much to ruin here, and I don't know how many people have gone and played it yet, but there's quite a few that have already played it,
Right,
but yeah,
right,
it's the whole package.
and without going into too many details, Alex. Um, one of the only things, maybe the only thing that bummed me out when they revealed this game that I wasn't excited for is when I found out who the villain was, and it was, what the rat catcher or whatever they call him. Um, that's not like a iconic Batman villain, and I thought to myself, "Oh God, of course they're going to give us some B-rate villain, and this is going to be the Batman VR game is going to be a second class game." Um, that is not the case because not only is this character so well portrayed, there are so many other like residual characters from the Batman villains, both allies, secondary characters, other villains. This is a Batman game. You are in Arkham, and the whole cast of characters that you would expect to be here seem to be here. Um, what did you think about the casting? And again, well, I don't need you to go too much into the story, but would you agree with me that the villain here, the big bad, is not, or at least hasn't so far, been a letdown? It seems to fit right into the Batman universe that I know.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't think I'm like you in the way that like, I was worried about like it not being a popular enough character or anything like that. Like, like I said earlier, I'm not exactly what I would consider a Batman fan, like I like it. It's cool. And when I was younger, I was all about all that stuff, but in general, I like am not super into superheroes and things like that, which is weird because I feel like I don't know, everything about me kind of screams like I should. But all that to say, yeah, I'm totally happy with the characters that I've encountered. I mean, I think you're probably a little bit further along than I am, but yeah, no disappointments from me whatsoever about the casting or the characters. Like you were saying earlier, I was honestly taken aback by the voice acting. Like especially like when I started hearing voices like over the radio and like through the walls and stuff. It was like almost sounds like it's in the room with you. Like it's
Yeah.
that good and that natural. So yeah, I mean, I got a ways to go still, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah, I do too. Philosix in the chat says Path of the Warrior fighting style. No, Path of the Warrior was completely button mash gamepad style fighting. This you're using your real fist. Even the kicks that you do are gestures with your hands, and it kind of set your whole body into motion, and then the animation then kicks for you. But there's no button press in this game at all. At all. It's all full fledged VR AF mechanics.
I have a
It's
question for you,
yeah,
Wes.
sure.
So this game is being packaged with the Quest 3S, which will be undoubtedly a lot of people's first VR headset. And because it comes with it, I imagine it'll probably be the first VR game a lot of people play too. Um, does that worry you at all? Do you need to be an OG VR player to like fully enjoy this? Have we heard any accounts of people getting motion sickness in this experience or anything like that? What are your thoughts?
I'm not worried about motion sickness here, and I think that they did strike a good balance here where it's not like Nerf to the level of a Horizon Call of the Mountain. It's more VR AF and more something that VR like noobs and experienced VR enthusiasts can enjoy. Um, and to be honest, I think we need this level of quality in a pack-in game to really sell people on VR. People need to put their headset on, put this game on, and go fucking wow, and never want to go back and play flat games again, like we did. Um, and I think this game can do it. But it's not all confidence from me here because this is a very active game. Um, some people aren't going to want to just flail and swing their arms for hours on end. Now, Eric, I played this game seated and I played it seated easily. There's a squat function. I can throw punches while sitting in my chair. You don't have to get that crazy involved with the movement. The stick turning's fast and responsive. It's easy to play this in a chair. But I've worked up a hell of sweat in that chair, and it is a workout. So, what are your thoughts on Alex's question about this game being a pack in and being a lot of people's first VR game?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were very, very careful to not make anybody sick in this game. So I think a lot of your movement that you're seeing is like that dash function is almost like a blink function, right? Like you, there is free loco here, and that you can do those things, but like a lot of those movements, like when you swoop down and use that boot kick, or if you hit that dash punch thing, it almost feels like a blink movement, like getting you there. And I think they did that purposely. It feels really badass, but I think it's purposely in there because if you're going to do a pack-in game with a new headset that just came out, you better make sure that you're not making people sick in this game, because otherwise you just basically killed everything, all that goodwill you did by packing in a Batman game. Then everybody's like, "Oh man, it was great, but I freaking puked in 15 minutes."
Yeah.
That's the worst thing that you could do here. So I think Camouflage and Oculus Publishing were super smart in the way they did this, and I definitely think it represents very well what a virtual reality game can be without getting people sick, or at least giving people a chance to train themselves so they don't get sick in VR anymore. Because this is a game for new people. Like, it's a game for us, but guys, we're already here. You know what I mean? We're already here enjoying VR. Trust me, Meta made this game. Oculus Publishing, Camouflage made this game to bring millions of new people into VR. I mean, we're enjoying it. We're going to buy it, but this is for new people, and this definitely is a entry level, not puke game for sure.
Right. Well, but there's other things too to consider outside of just motion sickness, like for example, Richie's Plank is a lot of first person's VR experiences and there's no motion sickness possible there.
Mhm.
But how many injuries have we seen because people like they forget that they're not in their living
Jumping
room?
into the wall or in the
Yeah,
floor.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like I could see somebody being perched up and like looking down and being like, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking jump on these
Somebody's gonna
guys right now," and like jumping face first into their ground. Now,
They're gonna beat
I
the
was thinking,
fuck out of their kids, dude. They're totally
dude,
going to beat the
seriously,
fuck out of the kids.
or punch lamps and stuff. Like I can really
Mhm.
see a lot of that happening.
Play
Now
seated, people.
I do think the gameplay is conducive for the most part, for like keeping people from like feeling like they're going to fall over or like jump off of something. Like recently we've all jumped into Oktoberfest, the social VR game on Quest, and there's a ride in there called Topspin that inverts you. And if you are standing, even as a hardcore VR player, if you're standing when that happens, it feels like you want to fall over. Like VR really messes with our equilibrium and like where we think we are and all of that stuff. And to be fair to Camouflage, I think the gameplay elements will prevent most of that. Like rather than like jumping down like you would jump off the plank, like there's no buttons to do anything in Richie's plank. All there are your feet. So when you see the edge of that thing, you jump off, you're using your feet to do so. But when you're perched up in Arkham Shadow, you pick your enemy like by looking like Eric said, but then you hit A as a button press to like jump and land on them. You know what I mean? So I do think that there's a lot of things that are put in place to prevent people from doing stupid shit like jumping into nothing in the middle of their living room. But like you were saying, Wes, this is a very active game. It's intense. There's a lot of crazy moments where you feel like you're up high and you can potentially jump down and do crazy stuff. And
like
of course I
this.
do yep, like this. And I do think about first time users, like I remember putting first time users in games like Super Hot and like they're on their back on the floor, like off their feet playing Super Hot. So it's just been so long since we've all been first time VR gamers, and I do try to put myself in the shoes of a first timer as often as I can.
Yeah, and we don't get motion sickness, so, like, I feel nothing, I mean, I can even
No,
in that
it's
ride that you're talking about, Alex, in Oktoberfest, I barely feel anything in that one, it's just 'cause
Oh
I'm
man.
just I'm just very lucky I'm not susceptible to it. So it is hard for me to judge whether things aren't. I can tell you this, Jasmine live streamed this the night it came out, and Jasmine, from VR with Jasmine is very sensitive to motion sickness, where she gets sick in games all the time, and she has to take either medication or put one of those bands on. She didn't do any of those things. She live streamed this for over 2 hours, and she didn't get sick at all.
Nice.
She went into I Am Cat for about 30 minutes to make a video. She was in
you
bed for the rest of the day. That's
know
how
who else can
motion sick.
barely feel anything?
My mom.
I do think though that is it the whole idea of you might punch something in VR, like Richie's
Yeah, that's
plank,
real.
you see all those things about people falling. I think you definitely will punch things in this, and I think they're okay with that because what videos do you see go viral constantly is some poor dude punching his TV. Go watch J Bar, the video streamer Bar, punched his TV day one, has it on video, completely killed it. Like, and that stuff is okay. Like put that stuff up all the time, and it gets millions of views on this stuff. So I think Meta's okay with having that out there like that, for sure, because it's just good. It's good for
Maybe I
Well, check
should
it out.
stage one of these videos. I should get a TV that I don't care about, pop it up in my living room, throw the headset
Mhm.
on in mixed
punch the shit out
reality,
of
and just smash the living shit out of it, and then
Dude,
upload it and get
there
rich.
there's so many broken televisions on Facebook Marketplace for free. We could set
Yeah,
up a,
right.
a fucking awesome video where you
Just
looks
punch
like
the
you're playing
TV.
a VR game and you accidentally punch a TV and you look like you're all bummed out, but then you start playing again and you accidentally punch another one and you keep
And just
coming in the frame with these other
TV after
TVs.
TV.
Yeah, that would be funny.
That would be awesome.
We're onto something right now.
Um, so cutscenes, by the way, in case you were wondering, are all done in the game with real NPCs standing in front of you. There are no like cutaway scenes. There are no cutaway scenes. You just have characters that you find in the game and they start talking to you and things start happening. I won't say there are none. There are some cutaway cutaway cinema scenes, but those are amazing the way they do them. They're full 3D and fully immersive. Um, and they're amazing and very artistic. Um, we've covered just about everything, gentlemen, except for production. And I think it's obvious to everyone here that this is the game that looks great, it sounds great, it sets a new bar for standalone VR. Um, how much do we want to just sit and say what everyone already can see? By the way, ladies and gentlemen, it runs great too. The footage that you're watching here, I captured on my headset while I was playing. So think about that for a minute.
Hmm.
Um, Eric, I guess just a word on production. We don't have to go overboard with it. We've already talked a little bit about visuals in terms of dynamic lighting and some of the other things. Like you can, if you put it under a microscope, you can tell that these are mobile VR assets because of the way things are shaped. But in terms of like the textures and the detail and again, the lighting and shadows, it does not look like a standalone VR game. You have to look for it to see it for the most part. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean and you really have to look for it in this one. Like, yeah, and maybe it's because I haven't gotten to any parts that are very bright. Have you? Like everything seems to be at night and dark, and that makes things a little bit easier too. When you don't have as much bright light. I mean, there are inner area, inside areas where you have lighting, but everything in Batman is normally fairly dark, and I think that makes things a lot easier. And it's harder to pick out, any kind of like those imperfections that you're talking about. But they're here. I mean, and they're going to be in any game if you really look for them. I've seen. I mean, how many times have we seen PlayStation VR games, which is running on a freaking PlayStation 5, and we're
Yeah,
like, "Wow, God, that looks like shit." But you have to look past some of those things. To me, I'm more apt to go, "Holy crap, how did they make that work on a Quest?" Than I am to go, "Oh, I can see a jaggy edge right there," or "That looks a little misshapen," or "That shadow may not look exactly right." For me, I'm kind of more wowed at this point of just what they did here in general. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
production wise, it's great.
I feel like I pretty much compare every VR experience, as at least single player campaign experiences like this, to the Half-Life Alyx experience, and I don't think I'm alone in that. I think most people do. Like you kind of
Mhm.
your brain goes to where you were most impressed when you did something similar. And every time I go into a game like this, I kind of run it past Half-Life Alyx in my head. And very quickly I like was pretty much putting this on the same caliber as Half-Life Alyx as in a lot of ways. The biggest thing for me that like makes this not feel as AAA as it could would be like the faces of the characters that you're interacting
yeah,
with and some of their animations while they're talking. It feels like a video game. They don't do anything amazing with the facial features, emotions showing on the face when they're talking, the way that their mouths move and stuff like
right,
that. Very much feels like a run of the mill video game. Not bad, but not like Alex. Like when you playing Half Life Alex and you're like talking to the characters in that game, like their faces are just so alive and so like animated and beautiful. That does not exist in Batman Arkham Shadow. Um, so if I could give it, I don't know, I barely want to call it a critique, but like that did stick out to me as like not being next gen was the
I'll agree with
faces of
that.
the characters.
I'll agree with that. But with that said, I think that there's a bigger gap between the depth of gameplay here and Half Life Alyx than there is a gap between the graphics here and Half Life Alyx. Would you agree
Sure.
with that?
100%. Yeah, there's definitely this is a much deeper gameplay experience. You know, and arguably better gameplay experience, again, I guess this does start to speak to the power that beautiful visuals really can have, like because if
Right.
the game is fucking gorgeous, it's hard not to be immersed in it. So it's like there's almost a part of me that's like, yeah, but it wasn't Alex though. And like if the gameplay is deeper and richer, then what is it that wasn't Alex? It has to be the production value.
Right.
So very, very good. It isn't Alex, but god damn is
No,
it
it's
close.
not
And
perfect. It's
it's as close as anything has ever gotten on a standalone ever.
it's not perfect. You certainly can nitpick it, and I wanted to save that for the end. So before we kind of nitpick, and I don't have a lot negative to say about it, I do want to point out just how perfect the spatial audio is in this game, and it has to be. Not only for immersion, which you'll eavesdrop and listening on conversations. By the way, a lot of these conversations are off the beaten path. Like you can pick up story bits by exploring a little bit, going down an alley and peeking through and hearing what the bad guys are saying. you'll pick up a lot of context from doing stuff like that. Not only is the spatial audio great for that, but the stealth sequences, it's crucial to be able to hear where these guys are and kind of game plan how you're going to take down a room without being seen. Sometimes you can't be seen; they'll shoot you quick. Eric, before we start marking off for things, talk a little bit about how good the sound design and spatial audio is here.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good. You know, exactly what you said. You're going to hear things from different areas. You're going to hear conversations going on from a certain spot, and you'll turn, and that's where they'll be. When you get spatial audio like that, it's special in a game. Everything is super clear. It's crisp. The music is great. It adds tension. All the sound effects are right. You know, for me, sound effects in a game, if you shouldn't notice. Like, to me, if I notice, if sound is a problem in a game, that's when I notice it. If I don't notice it and I'm just like intense and I'm in it, that's when I'm like, yep, I didn't notice anything. It's perfect. And that's what you'll get. That's what you're going to get here. You're gonna have a full blown immersive experience, and sound, won't stand out to you probably one way or the other because it's just so good. You're just not even going to think about it.
Yeah, and here's a real good look at the facial animations that Alex was talking about.
Mm.
Um, they're not horrible, but are they on
Yeah,
the
it looks
level of
great.
Half-Life Alex? Probably not. Um, so negatives, and again, I don't have negatives. I have to search for them. We already talked about how it's a lower poly count for a standalone game versus a console or PC game. I think the one big thing that really annoyed me more than once was I really want a jump button in this game. There is no jump that I can find. Maybe they give you the ability later through progression. Right now, um, you can jump off of things, you can jump across things, but you can't stand flat and jump up to things, which doesn't matter most of the time because you can vault things. Like you can jump over them, or if it's something's the right height, you can kind of vault on top of it. Um, or you can use your your grapple to grapple up 2 points, and that's typically what you do is you'll grapple above things and then jump down onto them, and you can literally grab your cape and glide across the screen and land where you want, or you can initiate attacks from above. But there were areas that, like I found a grate pretty early on in the game that was like 15 feet in the air. I couldn't reach it, and I tiptoed and stood up and grabbed it and just enough to get it open, but I couldn't climb in it because it wouldn't let me grapple into it, and I couldn't jump up there, and that drove me nuts. And then there were other areas of the game too, like traps and things that my natural instinct was to jump through it, and I couldn't. So that was my biggest pet peeve with the game. Alex, did you have anything that really bothered you here with this game?
Uh, hard to say that it bothers me, but like there's a couple the like one of the biggest things that kind of like stuck out that just like didn't really feel I don't know, didn't feel like perfect for me was when you're traveling through the ducts. Like it almost feels like it's a weird scale or something as I'm going through it, like my head is like right at the ceiling of the duct, but like somehow I'm fitting in there and like I'm cruising through it as if I'm running, and it's just like
Yeah.
yeah, there's like a bit of like an immersion breaking factor when you go into a duct and you're traveling through it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like they like artificially scale your character down or something, but like your vision stays the same. I don't exactly know what's happening there, but I noticed something. Um, and that's probably like that and then like the some of the animations of the characters and like their faces and stuff, like during cutscenes and things like that.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. Like that's kind of nitpicky. I might have more to say as I progress further into the game. But so far with my experience, that's mainly like one of the main things that's really stuck out that just felt weird.
Um, there was one time that um, I got stuck for a minute because for whatever reason I couldn't get the grapple point to lock on. I had to grapple up into another room. There were multiple grapple points up there, but for whatever reason, I couldn't get it to lock on. And sometimes when you're vaulting over things or finding that spots where you can grapple, it's really kind of tedious. Like, for example, if you're going to vault over a box, if you stand right up against the box, it won't let you do it. You almost kind of have to back up a little bit and find that perfect distance before it'll let you vault up onto it. I found that a little bit annoying. Eric, any pet peeves with this game?
I can't do it with these games. Like I'm and
How
you guys
dare
know
you talk about reprojection? Is that what it was that you were?
you guys know me. I'm super no, it was stutter, micro stutter.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
micro
right.
You guys
stutters.
know
That's what
me.
it was.
Like, look,
Micro stutters.
look. You guys know me. I'm critical when games aren't good. I will be the first one who will shit all over them and just say, "Look, you're a fucking lazy developer. You're a lazy studio. You did a piss poor job." I'll be the first one to call it out. But when we get to games that are this good, I just have a problem trying to find little things because that one little thing may, I don't know why, but it may dissuade one person from going and doing this experience, and I just can't put it out there. Like you can't. Like I don't like. I thought Assassin's Creed Nexus was an amazing experience that everybody should go play because just them getting that game on there is amazing. And I don't want to. I didn't want to talk about something that was so minute in there and turn one person off from it. Like everybody, there's no way that you should not be buying this game. Like everybody, and I fucking mean everybody. If you love VR, go buy this game. There's nothing I can tell you right now. There's not one nitpick I can give you to turn you off from buying this game. So
Xander has a good point. Xander has a good point. It does crash sometimes.
I had a crash.
I never had
Yeah,
a crash.
yeah, I did
I
too.
did have a crash.
I had a
Doesn't
crash
matter.
when I was recording, and I accidentally hit the menu button, and the game just fucking wigged out on me and didn't know what to do, so it crashed. So yeah, I did have a
Doesn't
crash as
matter.
well.
Go buy it twice.
All
You're
right.
not wrong, Eric, but I do think it's important to it's like this game is not a miracle. Okay? Like it is a beautiful feat. It is a fantastic game and I of course am also going to recommend everybody play it. But like I do think it's okay to like temper expectations from time to time, like identify aspects of the game that like could be improved upon, because it's like we can't be handing out perfect tens, you know what I mean? Like if on a scale from 1 to 10 you should never give a 10 because that means
I
Any
that
agree
game,
there's
with that.
if any
I agree
game's
with
going to
that.
get a 10, this is going to be the game to get a 10.
I
Like you
agree with
well,
can't.
that. There is no perfect game. 10 would have to be
No,
perfect for me.
no, and I'm okay with like for most games, and I'm talking probably 95% of the games. There's that, but to me, there's that 5% that are above me trying to nitpick and go find something wrong with it. I'm just not going to do that. Like, there's not enough here that would ever turn me off to go. You guys should think about this, or go worry about
right.
this, or like and there are there are games out there. I'm like, okay, this is a problem. This is an issue. We need to talk about this issue. There's just a couple of games. Like there's a few. It's not many. Again, 5% probably. But there's that 5% where I'm like, this game is above reproach, and I'm not gonna diss it in any way.
Yeah. Well,
So
you know, I appreciate that, but I do want to say I was not looking for these things and I was not trying to identify something that I could nitpick. I legitimately felt weird when I went into these ducks. You know what I mean? Like it was an absolutely an experience I had while I was playing it. So again, like I don't think that that would be something that would like turn somebody off from playing the game, you know,
Mm.
but it's, you know, I see value in identifying aspects that could be improved upon.
yeah. So two questions to end everything up here. Um, coming into this game, people were saying a couple of things that, as a VR skeptic, from time to time, yeah, and when you know how people can get hyped and get carried away, um, I was a little skeptical of. And keep in mind, um, recency bias is real. Keep in mind that these are first impressions. We've all just played this game a couple hours, tops. And we are going to keep playing it, by the way. Tune in to this Thursday when Q2 CVR Gamer returns. You'll probably hear him talking more about that. Next week we'll be doing Game of the Month. But my questions for you guys are this: one, people are saying um, instant Game of the Year front runner. Um, and we've had times in the past, Eric, where we've had great quest games. But for overall Game of the Year, when it came down to this versus what came to PlayStation VR2 or this versus what came to PC, we've said that the the shortcomings of standalone are just enough to hold it back and just beneath the other games. So I ask you, Eric, do you think that this could be, again, first impressions, that this could end up being a Game of the Year frontrunner?
Oh my god, yeah, absolutely. There's like already I'm trying to think like the only one for and I have to look at all of them and you're right. Recency bias is very you have to be careful with it. And I have not finished this whole game. But we talked about Resident Evil 4, remastered for PlayStation VR2 that came out last December, which is going to be in our discussion. That would be for me the only game right now that I can think of that I'm like, wow, that one I really have to think about that one because this
Metro
game
comes out
here,
next week too.
yeah, and no, there's other games that are going to come. Behemoth is going to come. Metro's going to
Yeah,
come.
yeah.
There are other games out there, but the quality of this one, I don't know, man. I'm telling you, it's that good. It's going to be a top. This is going to be one of the hardest years to vote of to figure this out.
I agree with that. I think the platform games of the year are going to be pretty easy to determine. I think the overall game of the year is going to be fucking hard to determine.
Yeah.
Alex, again, couple hours of gameplay in, first impressions. Does this game have the potential to be a front runner for overall VR game of the year?
Yes, it definitely has the potential to do that. And I think most people who play this game will agree. I guess I do just want to say that I do think that there is a small percentage of VR gamers that this game is not for. This is these like single player campaign style experiences are not typically the types of experiences that put me in a headset. Even though I really enjoy them when I play them, I love the production value, I love the mechanics, I love all that stuff. But like the things that hook me are not so much these types of games. You know what I mean? And I think there's somebody out there who feels that even more so than me, who might pick this up and say, "Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's like really beautiful, and like they did a good job." But like I'm a rhythm gamer, or I'm a PvPer. Like I'm a first person shooter PvPer. Like if I don't have a squad and I can't strategize, like I'm just not getting what I need out of VR. So I would say, I wouldn't expect Batman to like change anybody's life or change anybody's like overall perception of what they think they enjoy from VR experiences. But I think if there's even a little part of you that thinks that you would enjoy this game, you will. So I don't know. I
All
just
right. Well,
felt
that
like it was
that kind of
important to say
leads
that.
me to my next question, then, and that is the other thing that everyone was saying. And again, we're first impressions. We don't know, but would you say, Alex? We'll start with you this time. That this game has the potential to be the best VR game ever made. The
Yeah.
potential.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, that's it's what is it, subjective? Like
Yeah, of course.
best is incredibly hard to say. Like highest quality would probably be easier to answer, but yes, to answer your question, yes, I do think this has
It's a new
potential.
level. It's a new
Yeah, it
level
is.
in many different facets, right? Like they set the standard in not just for standalone, but in general for VR. They set standards in this game. Eric, same question. Does this game have the potential by the time you finish it that you could say that this might be the best VR game I ever played?
You have a lot of great I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's possibly. I'm not going to put anything out of the because I haven't finished it. And what I've played so far, I've had a freaking blast in. But I'm just thinking about other VR games I've played. Like, is this better than Stormland? Is it better than like Lone Echo?
Could be.
It could be.
It could
But
be.
I'm just thinking. But I have to think about that. Is it better than Half-Life Alex? There's a lot of there's a lot of good games out there. Saints and
Yeah,
Sinners.
Saints and
What
Sinners
we're
is
what
great.
we're
Yeah.
talking about here is like, is this better than any other game I've ever played? I don't know. It's gonna. The
Dude, my
possibility is
brain
absolutely
my
there.
brain starts to go to fucking Skyrim, man. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
No Man's
Skyrim.
Sky.
Yeah, No Man's Sky, like hundreds of hours, like Skyrim is a fucking massive world that you could play that shit forever, like
Mhm.
it's really, really hard yeah, I don't know.
But
It's
but
tough.
but it is telling that a Quest game is in the conversation
Yeah.
for
That's the
greatest game of
point.
all time. Because I'm saying it's in the conversation, right? I'm saying I think we're all both saying like, "Holy shit, there's a lot of good games out there." This is
Yeah.
tough. But just the fact that we're actually like, "Okay, but yeah, I wanna finish it because it's possible." Just because normally you would never say, like, there's just not a Quest game that can compete with a PlayStation VR2 game that's running off PlayStation 5
Mhm.
or some of the production that we've seen on even some of the older, like, Rift games, you know what I mean, that were freaking amazing and what a PC can give you. But having a standalone headset that's running off a freaking cell
And
phone
having
chip.
this depth of gameplay and so many
Mhm,
different facets to the storytelling and what you're doing to play this game, it's so diverse
mhm,
in the minute to minute gameplay. Like it's seamless. It changes from action to exploration to detective mode and into the story. It's all very seamless. It isn't like the transitions are almost imperceptible. Um, I think that's where it sets apart. Of course, we can think of games that are better than this game in categories. Like obviously, Half Life Alex is still the standard in terms of being immersed through production value, and Saints and Sinners 1 and 2 are they have a lot of depth to them as well. What I do think that we have the potential of here is that we really could have another Asgard's effect here. Like when Asgard's Wrath came out, it had such a high level of production value and new depth that we'd never seen before in VR games. That everything else that came out around it didn't seem as good as it was. Like a lot of games got short sold in that window because they didn't look good next to that game. And I think that as great as Metro looks, as great as Behemoth looks, these are all coming within the next 5 weeks. I think that there's a real possibility here. While those are definitely going to be better looking games, that the, not having the depth of gameplay that a game like this has might stick out more than it typically would because we typically don't have games in VR that does everything that this game does. I think we could, again, potentially, having only played a couple of hours in it, I think that a lot of the games that are coming out in this window might not seem as good as they are next to this game. And that's crazy because, like you said, it's a standalone VR game.
Yeah, I mean, dude, if anything is gonna get it closer to that best game VR game ever space, it won't be through the gameplay depth. It will be through the story. To be honest, for me,
mhm.
like it will be caring about the outcome of what's happening. It will be like immersed in what is unfolding in front of me. Like I can probably count on one hand the amount of VR experiences I've had where I have been like sucked into the story and I'm like, oh yeah, I am this person, I am doing this thing, and I need to figure this shit out. Also, just to shout out Apex Construct, that was the first one that ever did it for
Yeah.
me. Got sucked into
Yeah.
Apex Construct. I could not wait to figure out what the fuck was going on there, man. And it still like sits out in my head, obviously, for that reason. So I think if Batman can like deliver an emotional experience for me where like I get invested in what's happening or with the characters or the outcome of the events and then like I feel something that might help me because I don't know that I'll be able to get there just on like gameplay mechanics and production value alone.
Yeah. Well, definitely stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, because I think one thing goes without saying, and that is there's definitely more to come on this game. Because I don't think any of us are going to quit playing it. You know, to be honest, I got thinking about what we're going to do for Saturday's show, and all I could think is, man, I don't want to stop playing Batman to go play anything else right now. Like, I want to keep going in this one. Um, so that's going to be tough.
There's only
But
one
what I,
game that's been pulling me out of Batman, and it could be game of the year, and that's Trombone Champ.
Dude, I've been like biting my tongue.
I'm telling you right.
go for it.
I'm telling you
Talk
right. I'm
about
telling
it.
you right now.
Testify.
Dude, because we're talking about scoreboard chasing. You know what I mean? Like, and I love scoreboard chasing. It's one of my favorite things. Wes does it. We do it. We do it with shooters all the time. I'm a score. I love chasing scoreboards, and man, I'm telling you, this is one of the things that Guitar Hero did for me early on. Like, I was a huge Guitar Hero fan, and just like trying to like master that. I get the same feel with Trombone Champ because I'm normally not one of these rhythm based guys. Like, I don't normally get in this. And when we decided to do Trombone Champ, it wasn't my biggest thing. I wasn't like, oh, let's go do Trombone Champ. But this game has me freaking hooked, man. I'm telling you. And like, because what happens is it's only us playing it right now, right? It's our team. Like Alex, Wes, everybody on our team is playing it just to do, and so those are the only scoreboards. But every time I get a freaking notification on my phone that somebody just went in and beat my score, I'm like, holy shit, now I got to get out of Batman or Metro or anything else I'm playing to go play Trombone Champ so I can get my score back. Damn it.
Dude, it is fun. Like there has not been, and I really don't think this has anything to do with like being involved with Impact and Flat to VR. Like, whatever, take it with a grain of salt if you fucking want, okay? But I don't pull my punches, and there has not been a VR game that has killed my headset battery this year, like Trombone Champ. Like I get in there, I start playing a couple songs, and through the pain, through the cramping of my thumb, I'm still pushing through and playing these songs. Like there's something about it that is just like addicting. I think it's because like it is very hard to play these songs well. And it's fun when you aren't, and it's fun when you are. And like getting better and like executing the song in a way that like sounds as nice as possible is really gratifying, like to actually make that half fart machine trombone sound like it's supposed to be a part of the song that you're playing is like a feeling that I get. Like I don't know, I want to chase. And then to your point, Mash, being on the leaderboard is everything to me. Like if anybody beats any score of mine before this game comes out, at least I'm getting in there and beating it.
It's
Like
no shit too, because Alex has the top score, I believe, in almost every song. Maybe,
every
maybe,
every single one.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
And
top
I
10.
have tried to like, and it's not. So it's a cool game because it's one of those games you can get in and you can get it pretty quickly. You can get in there and get it pretty quickly to where you feel like you're having fun and you're like doing it. But getting to master it and get the high scores
Right.
is definitely something that takes
It's
time,
hard to get
just like
good.
Guitar
Yeah.
Hero. Like remember Guitar Hero when you were like, okay, I have 3 buttons, I can do the 3 buttons. But when I get to 4, that changes thing. When I get to 5, that changes thing. And then when I get, even on 3, let me go to the higher difficulty level so it's coming faster. And like, you're having to like stretch your fingers out and like those are the things like when you get that hook in a game. I mean, I'm like, holy crap, man.
You know who loves it
Yes,
when you
and
stretch your
yes, we
fingers
are.
out?
Yeah, and look, yes, we are biased, but I'm telling you right now, like, I don't have to go in and play this game. I don't have to. Nobody's telling me I have to do it. Like, I do it because I'm like, I enjoy doing it, and I do it because I hate when people beat my freaking scores.
It
So,
is fun.
so this is a game that you got to work to get good at. It is pretty straightforward. You do pick it up quickly, but it takes some time to get good. But when you get good, that's when it gets addictive because that's when you start looking at the leaderboard and really trying for those scores. Um, the difference is that period from the time you start the game before you even get good all the way through. The thing that kind of sets this game apart from other rhythm games is you're not just like playing to the music. You're actually playing the music. The instruments in your
Mhm.
hand. You're the artist. You can make it do whatever you want it to do. You can even import your own tracks into the game and your own beat maps,
Oh my god,
and play whatever music you like on your horn. It's the horniest VR game I've ever seen. We'll see.
Amen.
Alex, what did you play the other day? Was it Through the Fire and Flame?
Yeah, the Dragon Force song. Yeah, I played the
That
Oh,
custom
you
map.
actually played
was
that? What the
insane.
fuck,
Yeah, oh,
dude?
you got to watch it. He recorded it, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I recorded my first pass of
Oh,
the
it's
song.
so funny,
Your
man.
first
It
fail?
is, dude, there were literally multiple times where I started cracking up laughing while I was trying to play it. Like I was laughing out loud because I was like, how the fuck? Like it's impossible. Like there are things there that I just don't know. I don't know if you can do it.
There's so much cool download when you can mod it and bring in your own songs. It's so much freaking fun, man. Like I was playing like the theme, the Chariots of Fire, which is crazy. I did Journey, Don't Stop Believing, and that one's hard too, Alex. Have you done that one yet?
No.
Do Journey's Don't Stop Believing because you think, okay, that's not the fastest song. The way they have the map set up, it's freaking hard, man.
Yeah, but I mean, I've started to mess around with the custom songs, and it is fun. It is pretty cool. But I like the original stuff, and I'm that
Mm.
way in Beat Saber too. Like, I think it's a couple of things: A, the song selection is intentional, and B, the mapping is incredibly intentional. Like, not just like, hey, let's make the song really hard, but like, let's make sure this is fun to play. And one thing that I noticed playing the custom songs in Trombone Champ Unflattened is that it's not as fun when the melody that I'm playing doesn't make sense for a horn. Like
Yeah.
there's a couple of songs where like you're playing the melody of the vocals on the horn
Mhm.
and it doesn't feel the same as like playing some of these songs that are like the original tracks in
Well,
Trombone Champ Unflattened that like are intended to be played with horns.
not only that, but everything has been customized to these tracks that are already in there. And when I say everything, I don't just mean the beat maps. Of course, the beat maps are different for every difficulty level and everything, but the environment's different too. There are effects, there's lighting, there's everything that's going on that not only adapts to the song and to the difficulty, but how you're playing. Each song, each playthrough, each individual difficulty level all is a different experience. Very similar, obviously. It is a rhythm game at the end of the day, but it's much more customized to the moment than really any of the other uh, rhythm games in VR. So, yeah,
Yep.
I,
It's
I hear what you're
beautiful.
saying.
It is.
It's
Fifty
so
fifty
fun.
five
And then
55 plus songs, like, and they're all like really cool. Like they're songs you're gonna recognize. That Alex is right. They just make sense with the trombone. Like I don't know why, but they do.
yeah, it's all songs that you know, but you don't know the name of them. Like you know them, you just don't know what they're called, and you
Mhm.
will
That
learn by
sounds
playing trombone. Jam.
Yeah, no, the names. I'm like, what the hell is that? But then all of a sudden, you like you hover over it, and then it starts to play like,
You're like,
gives you
oh, that.
yeah, it gives you some some parts of the song so you can hear it, and you're like, oh, I know that song. And
Yep.
then, then you're like, "Oh, let me get into it and play it." And then, the 15th time or 20th time I've played it and I can't my hands are cramping because I can't beat Alex's score.
Yeah, yeah. Two final thoughts on this. Number one is that I am currently the best trombone champ and Latin player in the world. So just like I just want you guys to know that, and I'm just gonna enjoy that
Can't wait till everything
knowledge.
resets.
Dude, they better not
I'm, be-
reset those. Like
I'm better
No,
I'll
than
they're
be
you at
gonna
okay.
Vendetta
reset.
Forever. I'm
No,
better
I'll,
than both of you at Vendetta Forever, just so you know.
that I believe. If they reset the leaderboards when the game goes live, I'm going to be devastated
Oh, it's
because
gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I don't know that I can get those scores again on those
I
songs. I
know you
need them to
can't
stay there.
because I think because we've been updating the game, right? And like like we all did these
Oh, here we
scores a while
go.
ago. So I'm
Here
telling
we
you right
go.
now, you can't score the same as you did before.
Bullshit.
Go get those same scores that you got now. Do it again. I guarantee you can't do it
All
again.
right, I will. And yes, I can.
I don't think
But
you
I don't
can.
want to. It's hard. All right. But here's the other thing. Beat Saber, Synth Riders, a bunch of these other games. They are rhythm games. They're made for VR. They're super fun. I love them. But they all require you to like get off of your ass, move your entire body, like dance like nobody's watching, and like eventually break a sweat. Trombone Champ, you can play seated comfortably. The motions are small. There's button presses, and like other than your hand cramping, it's like not super physically demanding. So it's actually like really approachable in the way that I can just be like popped up in bed, like throw my headset on and play a few songs, just chill in there. And I don't have any other rhythm games that I enjoy playing in VR that don't require me to like be standing or moving or jumping or sweating or whatever. So it's approachable in that way too.
It's gonna be a fun, like, because I've had the opportunity to do it here at my house and, under strict NDA, letting some of my family play. And, I'm casting it to the TV in the living room and just watching people get up and play songs, like, in a party and, like, having, people over and doing that atmosphere, passing the headset around, trying to beat everybody's score. It's a freaking ton of fun, man. Like, that's gonna be I see where that is gonna be, a big part of this too, is having people over, getting people up there looking stupid, playing a trombone in a VR headset. But, seeing people do it on TV and then hearing the music, casting is so good for Quest, and it's so much easier now to do than it was before. And somebody asked how many Looper says how many difficult levels are there. I'm not going to say because I can't really give you everything, but I'll say there are different types of difficulties in the song in the game. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, I'm going to break it up here, guys. We've been going on. We're
Well,
getting
let's
fairly close to 3
well,
hours.
we got to say one. If we talked about it this much, we got to say two things. You can pre-order it today. Go pre-order it, and it's coming out November 26th, Tuesday. It's a Tuesday. It's a weird day.
Tuesday,
It's a weird
November
day for a launch.
26th. Pre-order today on MetaQuest, $14.99, and you get a custom trombone. Which I found out that a lot of these custom trombones aren't just skins. A lot of them have their own properties. But you get the C scale fish trombone if you pre-order now. So go pre-order now. It's only $15.
Yeah.
And
You know
it's
who lo-
fucking fun, yo.
Yeah. You know who loves a good boner?
God damn, Wes.
We should get my mom's trombone in the game somewhere.
Yeah. I
My
know a
mom's
guy. I
trombone.
know a guy. We might can make that happen.
Mm,
Alex, you got anything going on you want to plug, man? It's that time of the day.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to say tune in bi-weekly to the XR Update podcast. It is a more industry-driven podcast, less community and games as a consumer, and more industry, community, and developer perspective. And just like a couple of news updates. We've been doing that bi-weekly. It's on YouTube, and I've actually been streaming to Twitter also,
Hmm.
which does really well.
It
In
does
fact,
really
just
well.
just between us, like there's a part of me that like maybe wants to just like start streaming to Twitter and see what happens, like just go live like by myself or something, or like grab a friend and just go live to Twitter and just see what happens. Like I wouldn't be surprised if you could grow a legitimate following streaming to Twitter, because I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure they're
I've
like
thought
pushing
about
people's shit out.
doing exclusive stuff on Twitter for a
Yeah.
while.
I get hundreds of people watching live on Twitter where we normally get maybe 80 to 100
Yep.
live for Q2C. But
Yep.
every time I get either 100 to 200 people watching live on Twitter.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a little side note. But XR Update has been going to Twitter, and it's on YouTube. And then Between Realities is coming back. That if you've never met me before, I host the Between Realities podcast with my friend Skiva, with our friend Skiva. We're all friends here. We're all part of the
Mhm.
same family. And we are making a return very, very soon. We haven't actually landed on a day, but I'm gonna push Skiva for us to be back in the saddle next week. So Between Realities is flying back in hot.
Coming in
Coming in
hot, ladies and gents. Between Realities.
Yeah.
Augie Award winning Between
Yeah.
Realities.
Aki award winning Between Realities VR podcast. I'm also preparing right now to host the VR Awards again, which are now being called the XR Awards. But that is a super awesome award show that happens before the end of the year. Takes place live in Rotterdam, and I'm starting to put things together for that. So I don't know. I guess I didn't need to plug that, but that's been on my mind lately too.
Good one to plug.
Put it out there. Eric, you got shit to plug, right? You're coming back. Q2 CVR Gamer back in full force this Thursday. Yes?
Hell yeah, man. I'm back home. I'm back home for a good period of time. And we have been kind of like very spotty on episodes for Q2C for the last 3.5 months. And we are full back, 9 p.m. Eastern Thursdays, Q2C VR Gamer. And I got some shit to rant about. It's been a freaking minute. And I got some shit I need to yell about. And I'm going to get in there and blow off some steam.
What are you doing, Sony? I'm just kidding. Um,
Uh,
anyways, yeah, and for me, you guys know I'll be on YouTube on this channel or the next one. We'll be on Without Parole tomorrow. Of course, as always, it's West Day. We're working on maybe doing something else Without Parole, guys, but I won't announce that until there's a date and time settled for it. Um, Back on this channel this weekend, Strangers of the Night, going to do some gameplay impressions, and then game of the month next week. So again, only a couple of weeks left, but we are full steam ahead, full schedule. As all of these awesome games come out, we're going to be here to talk about them and with you about them. And with that said, friends, I believe that's our show. I'd like to thank you all once again for watching. For Alex and Eric, I'm Wes. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.
take it easy.